Okay. Um, okay. Welcome everyone to the 31st Keshe Knowledge Seekers workshop. And my name is Rick Cram, and I'll be your host today as we talk with people from the Spaceship Institute, in particular Mr. Keshe, and others that are also there. And I understand we'll be having a discussion with John today. We'll be having a discussion with John today. And also Mr. Keshe at the Spaceship Institute. So let's just go over to Mr. Keshe and allow him to introduce what he would like to today and segue into John's presentation. Mr. Keshe, are you there?
On live stream. Do you see it?
It should be okay there now, I think. Try it again.
No, again, it works on my end, it says. Okay, somebody's got a problem. Good morning, good day to all of you, wherever you are. We are at the, more or less a huge change in the foundation. Good morning, good morning. How are you? Good morning, John. We are at a turning point and a change of the position. It says the sun is not back. It's not black. Okay. Okay. So we have a lot of things to discuss and do. I've just seen somebody claiming that they made the kit. The kit was made 5 years ago, and we shown the GANs 10 years ago. So it's not made by nobody that we are promoting somebody else's SSI. This shows a lot of things which is going around. The people come to the foundation to benefit by themselves personally and what they stand for. Marco just showed me an email or a post in one of the chats. The design and the production of what do you call it, GANs was released in 2009. We used the same thing and they were shown to do the same thing. So nobody designed it. This is, they've seen everything and now it's become design of somebody and John. So please stick to what you are and where you are and what you do for the foundation. There are a lot of developments. Let me explain to you. Some of you who's active on the website, and as you know, we have a lot of traffic. This morning, while the webmasters were posting and putting up the links for the CO2 kit, which will be designed when we release the final one, because I had a meeting with the Italians yesterday, it's amazing. I think the rest of the world will follow. Is that a lot of people immediately start putting orders through. We received huge number of orders within a matter of couple of hours while they were testing the line. So for that reason, I have put a note immediately about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning that, what do you call it? Anybody who made the order for €10 kit will be refunded. The kit is €25. We were doing test runs, and we were doing test runs, and we were doing test runs. People go through the website in different channels, so we start seeing a huge number of purchases. So we took the icon off now. It'll go back on later on this morning, maybe before the end of the session. So the plates and the boxes, we can order hopefully before lunchtime today, Central European time. The kits will be delivered automatically once we've seen the new design from the Italians, because it's very, very, very easy. They've done a fantastic job. So we'll leave the design to hopefully Chu in China can get it done in China for the Chinese to clear up the air, especially because once you clean up the CO2, especially around Beijing and Shanghai, you will see the change in the air quality. And I know Chinese Keshe Foundation will have a huge success with this and it'll be copied. But There are two things for the Keshe Foundations around the world, or people who go to make a copy of these units for themselves and their families. You have learned, and you will see the videos. We have made a 20 minutes video and a 2.5 minutes video for CO2 to explain everything in detail. It goes on release today by lunchtime. There is the paper Rick showed last week. That paper goes on the site. You got to understand the way it works, and it will work with the Keshe Foundation. We do not put restriction. We do not put patents in. We teach you and we guide you to do it, and we learn from you. Our condition with every unit you put out, even if you make a unit for your mother or your brother, is as is the ethos of the Keshe Foundation. Everyone who receives a unit signs the World Peace Treaty. Then even the products from this system will not be used for anything but peaceful usage application in the society. So if, for example, Bulgarian Keshe Foundation, or as we just got to know, the Nigerian Keshe Foundation, or the Keshe Foundation in China or Australia or wherever, you produce these units, you replicate these units, make sure you attach to it the World Peace Treaty, the one you sign yourself, that you will not take any part in war, thinking and acting. I think it'll be nice, Rick, if you can find out and post it up that people can see it on the live stream. This is the only condition we have put on the release of this technology. You sign yourself to peaceful application and thinking and living. And then, if you understand the reason, you see the doctors and the lawyers are the only two group of educated people who are educated that they have to sign into becoming, accepting the ethos of their work. We go the same, because that's why a lot of doctors don't change their habit and they stick to what they're told or what they've been taught in the school, as in the medical school or law school, because they sign themselves into the law society, they sign themselves into the society of the doctors. And to do that, they have to obey by the rules. And when a man put a signature to a paper, he remembers. So we do the same thing. If you produce any, from today on, any unit, be it the energy, be it the, what do you call it, the CO2 capture, be it the other units which we are developing, you sign yourself every time into the World Peace Treaty Act of the Keshe Foundation. We have done this with the medical side. The medical side structure is complete. So hopefully, I haven't had time to send the things back to, what do you call it, to the people. Hopefully it'll be done this week. Even from now on, we accept anyone on our medical section, be it even for a muscle tension. You have to sign that we don't give you your health back for you to go and start making in your factories and other weapons and whatever. So you sign yourself into the World Peace Treaty Act of the Keshe Foundation. Slowly we bring our ethos in, because if you lie to yourself, you know the terms and the conditions how you will pay back. So everything from now on we do, we release, we will add to it. Even the books and the papers, all I've asked the webmasters to add this to every paper you download. You receive knowledge freely from us is the condition. If you don't sign into it, do not read it, because that's considered from us as breaking the oath. Thus, we come to our work in so many different ways. Today, there are a few number of things, questions we try to clarify in the process. As I said yesterday to the knowledge seekers, today will be clearing point, what do you call it, session. A lot of things we didn't understand, and a lot of things we're trying to understand. One of the things is in my last talk last week on the 30th knowledge seekers, I explained the situation about the knowledge seekers who were here. And immediately within couple of days we received responses from the ex-knowledge seekers, or some of them in the way they thought it's appropriate to justify whatever. First of all, I want to thank Jorge. Couple of days after receiving after mentioning what happened here and he understood why he left, he sent to the foundation the full translation of the first book in Spanish and leaving it to the foundation to do what he likes with it. And in turn, I thanked him for him, and I made it clear that the translators and anybody who does book translation receives a standard mandatory 0.30 cents euro per book sold. So now this is how we work. We just don't take and run. It's to him to respond back. So for what he's done while he was here and translated the book, even though he's donated or given the book freely to the foundation, he has to clarify where he stands. If you sell 100,000 books, would you like his share from it? That's 30 cents per book. This is what all the translators of the books receive from the foundation. So I would like to thank Jorge for what he's done. It's a fantastic job. It's a very complete job. On the other hand, I've received indication and emails, and I've seen it circulating around from Marek, all sorts of innuendos. We do not respond. The only response we say in what we said, we did not release or permit the Keshe Foundation Czech Republic to be established, because the dossier we received, Dirk Lorentzens and me twice went through it, we corrected and received the same thing back, was that they were asking in a very strange way that all the intellectual right of the Keshe Foundation Holland, which belongs to the world population, to be given to Czech Republic. They have rights over all our intellectual rights. And this is illegal. I cannot give something which I've given to the world population back for you. If you wanted to do anything, go to get the permission from Czech Republic to do it. So Marek becomes the boss of the Keshe Foundation. So for this reason, we did not permit and allow the establishment of the Keshe Foundation under circumstances to Czech Republic. This is the pattern of the work which I explained. This is taking and thinking is your right to take, and playing the priest being holy. And then we've seen the same thing as you see in the system. We were told continuously here that we have to give everything to them, except what is the confidential and private and secret test by governments. The same pattern. So please close your ears, because here we see and know more in the foundation. We do not go into personal innuendos and battles, but this is what we've seen and other knowledge seekers have seen here. And we end with this case. The other position is, there is a question, what happens to the Keshe Foundation Center, the University Institute we were opening? We are still sitting for written confirmation from Italian authorities that we can change the use of the premises. We were promised we'll receive it in August, September. Now we are in October, we haven't received it. Till we don't receive the document in writing, not just by words, we cannot go ahead with the development and purchase of the property. Because then if we do so and they move, they cannot change the the usage, the foundation becomes the owner of a 4-star hotel. And we are not in hotel business. So we have to wait the minute the Italian authorities release. We have met all the authorities. We've been told it's been accepted. They came here, they saw how we do our work. They sent a representative of the community of 7 communities around the lake to see what we do, because this will affect all the communities with the students living around. So we have not received this permission yet. Till we don't receive it, we cannot make a move. So that stays and stands on the hold. There is a development. As we have now more or less don't have A1 with us as such, because he comes once every 2 months or once a month for a week or whatever. The foundation is going in a different, in totality move. That is, we have made an offer and we have accepted Dr. Elia as a full-time knowledge seeker at the center. She'll join us in the next few weeks. She has to arrange her things. At the same time, through introduction and people we know, we have spoken to before, a gentleman called Stanley from Slovenia. He's a computer specialist and that was his job. And we had a meeting, a long meeting for 5 hours more last Saturday with Marco, with him and his partner. And the partner is highly educated reactor in thermal reactors. I have told, and I think it's been conveyed to them by Marco. We have accepted the two of them to join the foundation as knowledge seekers. And then it becomes the job of the present knowledge seekers to bring them up to date. That now we bring a specialist to make and develop in the control system in the medical side and the rest. And as you've seen, Dr. Elia has put a note on the forum of the foundation asking for the other doctors who want to work, and she's collecting the world's medical scientific group, well, including the people who've been in touch with us before, to start the medical teaching. This takes us into we say we lost sound. Which sound? Who do we lost the sound with? On live stream. Sound is back on live stream. Okay. So these are the, yeah. So this is the position we are, because there is a lot of things happening. Today, by lunchtime, hopefully the Keshe Foundation releases the first public open paper. I put a note on the forum about something, the third pillar, which is never understood in the world of physics. I have written a paper, which part of this paper is from book number 4, which now I adapted it to be released today, and it's done exactly the same as I told you a few weeks ago. I've written the paper. Read the paper. The paper should be up in a very short time. It's called The Creation of Motion in Universe, which is never understood why stars and planets and the rest move, and how electron happens to be in rotation and moving and everything else. This I explained to the knowledge seekers in the past 48 hours or 24 hours, and now I released the paper with it immediately. Look at the structure of the paper. If you think you can translate the information into a picture or a different way of understanding, draw your picture, send it back to the Keshe, the webmaster at Keshe Foundation, and then we look at it. And if it fits to go, it'll go in the paper. We add to it. Even as I said, it takes you understand a different way and somebody else understands a different way. We add to the pictures. We have no hesitation. So I think it's about 4 or 5 pages. If you want, and you want to translate or add your understanding to it, we can add to the paper with your name added to it, credited to you. So we are going as a collective knowledge seekers, developing that everybody can understand. This paper is on site, and if you want to read it and then tell us you want to change or you want to add, or I've done a spelling mistake, which is normal with me. I don't know if boxes are bosses or bosses are boxes are bosses. So because I write so fast, I just press the correction dictionary, and I pick up the wrong one, and then it happens to be there. So now we're going to what we said. You become part of the editors, auditors of the papers which the foundation is releasing, and put your knowledge to it, what you understand from it. And in this session this morning, I will explain this, because this is fundamental. This is one of the cornerstones of physics which was never understood, how motion is created in in the universe. I had to bring this forward because, as you know, more or less, not physically but mentally, in the Keshe Foundation Center we have closed the lab. Now we're going back to understanding what we don't understand. That's why we are not going any further. So Arman is more or less the only one who plays with the reactors at the moment, by the help of the others when it needs to be fixed or whatever. So It's a lot of talking going on, a lot of what you call soul searching, and understanding why we don't understand. And we try to bring this into our teaching. I try to do part of this with the kids teaching, which we did last Saturday, the first one. The next one is this Saturday, and with the agreement of Rick and Kevin, we have moved it to Wednesdays at 7 o'clock, because a lot of children, Saturday is the only time they have with their family or whatever. And so it'll be brought from next week to the Wednesday session at 7 p.m. for up to 1 hour, because I think 30 minutes for 40 minutes is not enough. We couldn't manage it last time. There is the talk. I received an email. Can you explain why you have stopped writing on the end of the writings the INOTGOG, which was the name of the glory of God? This was stopped from the time when I wrote and I released, well, initially, the paper called In My Name. So I do not need to go under the title of the name of glory of God. So that's why it's been deleted, or it not be on the future papers or books. So now you understand, the people who wanted to understand what this INOTGOG, which is the name of the glory of God, which directly goes to one person, one soul. This has been withdrawn because of the release of the paper as is in my name. The other thing which I have to explain is there is a problem. I received some emails that we've gone too fast through the medical side with the bones and the muscles. For such a complicated structure, we should spend more time on it. Tomorrow, the time has been allocated by Dr. Elia regarding the heart, because we were discussing it last time and in how it works. But we try to cover in more detail the connection between the heart and the bone, and the bone independently, because there is much more to pass the knowledge on, and we'll see where we're going to get. This brings us to what we try to explain with the open camera here. We try to explain it as easy as possible and in a fundamental way that we all understand, because there is a huge misunderstanding or not understanding about the plasma. What I try to explain it in a simple way is that in the matter state, you see, and all the time we speak, if you look at this, these are magnets, which we can see. And if you look at these magnets, this is how you are used to seeing magnets. If you notice, as I put the magnets down, they suddenly find their own position. They don't sit in the place I leave them, even though I try to keep them in line. So in the world of your understanding of magnetic field, you always look and understand, as I taught in the children classes, magnet or magnetic field as a magnet which is like this. You see, it just jumps on it. So in reality, the comprehension of our teaching is that we see a magnet as this. Now that we start teaching plasma, I come to understand in talking to the knowledge seekers, even they've been here a long time, they think, okay, now because we know plasma is a sphere, so the plasma is like this. In fact, this is what you have on your nano layers. You have a matter, the space which is dictated. If I move one, it has to find its space. So this is the distance between the two. This is the gap. And then it goes back the same way. If I push this, there's a certain position they take. And then now, in the process of teaching nano or GaNs materials, everybody has started thinking about, again, in the wrong way about the magnets. We made the problem bigger than actually solving the problem, because you all used to think the magnetic field to be like this, straight or whatever. We start talking about the spherical magnet, the spherical balls, the plasma, and everybody start thinking about this in this pattern. But in fact, this is again a nanomaterial connected to a matter. So if you look at the real structure or near real structure of the magnet as a plasma, I try to move these that they don't jump. And it's easy to teach. Magnets are near enough in this form. They are not flat. Because when they are flat, I can show you what's the difference and then you understand. If you have a flat plasma as you've been thinking, if I move the magnet in a flat plate will show a reaction. I come further into being camera. If I move the magnet in a flat plate as a nano layer, you see reaction to it. But you see how far the reaction is. But if I change the magnet and bring it a bit more further in that you can see in your videos much clearer than this. If I rotate the magnet on the top, you don't see any reaction from the magnet because they are flat, they are connected to a matter direction. So this is not the real understanding of the plasma. Because if I move these magnets away, again, that I have a room without jumping, and place the magnet near enough to a spherical to be free, as you can see, you see, first of all, the distance of interaction changes because if I move this, the other one moves. So the space becomes wider. And then if I introduce a magnet from the top, you see the other two rotate with it. They interact. So now we are getting near to a three-dimensional plasma or magnetic field. Then you see from here, you see the two magnets, even they interact with each other. If I turn this from here, I don't know if you can see it. We can't use bigger magnets because they're lethal. They jump on you and they break you and cut your fingers or whatever. So we try to do it with this. We try to take the light off that you can see it in a different way, a bit in more shadow. So now if I turn, you go away from two-dimensional into real three-dimensional. You see another field on top from a long distance interacts and you see what happens. But this is not even a three-dimensional plasma. The nearest thing we can find to be a three-dimensional reactor, a plasma, is more or less what I call, what is known as a rattle magnet. Rattle magnets you can buy in what do you call it? In children game shops. Because when you release them, they behave like a magnet, like a sphere. So these rattle magnets are the nearest you can find to a plasma, where by moving one in a certain distance, you can see you can interact the whole field. So now you have to start thinking and working in these kind of environments, in this kind of understanding. A three-dimensional field position, where by rotating one field, you understand you have control. And then you can add more of these rattle magnets to get an idea of a full interaction of a number of plasmas. So let's put these away because then they can cause a... So this brings home a lot of things if you understand. As I said, we hold thousands of euros of magnets here because of the teaching, because of the experiments. This can be done only in a real condition. So I make near enough real a sphere through solid magnets. So if you look, one interacts with the other three at the same time. If you can see, the three magnets interact. The top magnet in my hand is literally your top reactor, principal reactor in your star formation. And then you understand how The other three reactors in the base behave. You just need to change the strength or the position, and then you see which one you influence. This is exactly how on the top is the oxygen in amino acid, and the fields of the carbon and nitrogen play a different way. Now, what is interesting, which has been missed by the world of science, is that how the movement of a magnetic field leads to the motion of the matter. If I move, I don't move the matter, I move the field in one, and the matter in the other three moves. This is what never been understood, and that's what we're saying. Where does the motion comes from in the universe and dictates the motion, and how the stars rotate and how electron rotates. And in the paper released today later on called The Creation of Motion, explains this. You have all the knowledge to understand it. What puzzles me, and I was explaining to the knowledge seekers, has been how come man has never understood this. The reality we didn't understand how motion is created is because we never understood originally how and what is the source and essence of gravity. So what happens here is that when I move one magnet on top, I move both the magnetical and gravitational at the same time. This is a field like a plasma which hits any of the other magnets at the bottom. But a field on its own can go indefinitely, but when it comes to a matter, it makes it to move physically. So the matter state follows the field. How does this happen? The answer is very simple. Matter is made of inertia, and inertia is attribute of, or is the gravitational magnetical, what we call magrav, of a matter state. Because when you become matter, you are not dynamic. It was like the magnets which I showed you flat. When a dynamic magnetic field of a plasma interacts with the inertia, which is again a magrav of a magnetic field at the matter state, then you see, what is there a problem? I think it's somebody's telephone microphone is open. So what you see, what you get is
Sandor,
the interaction.
can you please? I think it was Sandor.
Okay, so what happened? The interaction of the plasmatic interaction of the magnetic field of the top magnet with the magnetic fields of the bottom magnetic fields, which themselves as an atom are made of gravitational magnetic field. Every electron is a plasma, has both, but because they're stuck together, we don't call them the gravity. Gravity or magrav is the attribute of a dynamic plasma condition, like the center of this, like the sun, like the center of the earth. Inertia is the attribute of gravitational magnetic fields, which collectively, once they have no room to move, they behave as a gravity, but totality of what they are holding in atomic structure with each other. So that's why a body has inertia. Inertia is no different than the magrav of a dynamic plasma, but for a static condition. So your dynamic gravitational magnetic field of your magnet interacts with the inertia of the matter in the lower magnet, and then one has to follow the other one. And this is how motions of matters in the universe is created. Universe has dynamic, it's full of dynamic plasmatic magnetic field, which comes from the center of the central principal star in the center of central line of the universe, and this field continuously is in motion. And where this field interacts with a matter state, where the strength of the field has reduced to become matter state in this universe, in the interaction of the two, it gives some of its energy, magnetic energy, to the matter, what you call inertia, and this surplus or enforced matter makes the matter to move, because it moves according to the rotation of the central magnetic gravitational fields of the universe. The same ratio proposition stands for proton and electron. The same ratio proposition stands for the sun and the earth. And then the distance of the inertia from the dynamic plasmatic magnetic field dictates in so many ways the positioning, but at the same time the speed of the rotation around the stronger field, not of the inertial matter itself, plasma on its own. And that's why we see Earth have a rotation of its own, which we call it daily, day and night. And then this is created because of the plasmatic gravitational magnetic field, which is created in the center of the Earth itself, in interacting with the matter components of the planet. This creates the daily rotation. And then Earth as totality has its own inertia, which its interaction with the plasmatic gravitational magnetic field of the sun dictates the rotation of the Earth around the solar system in, as we call, annual cycle. And this applies the same with every entity. Our solar system is within a galaxy and rotates at high speed in the wings of the galaxy. And when you have such a condition, it clears with one point. The gravitational magnetic field of entity like Earth is limited according to the number and the quantity of the mass of the structure. And in time, even though we receive more material on the top layer, the field strength inside changes because of the cycles of the material which are in. And through this process, as the gravitational magnetic field of the sun by order of magnitude is much stronger than Earth, in time we get pulled in the rotating into the center of the sun. So this is how, because Earth and sun and atom, everything, every plasma has a gravitational field and a magnetic field, where the gravitational field is always stronger because it masters more mass nearby. So the pull of electron to the proton, the pull of the Earth towards the sun, the pull of the stars to the galaxies, and the galaxies to the center of the sun, the center of the universe, is all due to the gravitational magnetic field of the center point. And as if you read book number 1, 2, or 3 and you understand it, the difference between the gravitational magnetic field, which is always stronger, and the magnetical field, which because the spread is weaker, it goes further out, doesn't come back in, becomes the mass of the entity. So in the space technology, when you want to calculate what is the gravitational magnetic field of the destination, you just need to understand the mass, the difference between the two fields. So this makes it easy for space travel in the future, but you have to understand the principle behind it, how it works, what it is. And for the first time in the world of science, maybe man now understands how units move. There are no motors, there are not rocket engines, there are nothing in the universe that makes things work. But due to the magnetical pull being stronger, gravitational pull being much stronger, as it pulls you in line because it's locked to you, this creates a variation in the field strength, and then this is what's the consequences. You literally put a mixer in the field, so everything becomes dynamic. Read the last 2 paragraphs of the paper which is released today. Then you understand the interaction between the creation and the creator, and how everyone is reached through their soul by the creator. but you have to understand the scale of the size. This, why we discussed this yesterday, because what has happened, I have literally banished the knowledge seekers away from the, what do you call it, from the lab in making things, because every time we discuss something, they just jumped in the lab to make it, to see what it is. And now they have to understand what it is and how it is. So they are going through the process, and I try to explain more and more in theoretical way what has been happening, which they were not aware of. As you know, if you remember and go back on the workshops before, a few months ago, we switched off the motors of the reactors. And I said to and explained to the knowledge seekers and you lot that now we made the plasma, we don't need anything, the whole thing runs on its own. And everyone thought about the idiot, things cannot be done. But now you understand this position, what I just explained. You understand exactly how we keep motion in our reactors. With mechanically enforcing and creating extreme ultraviolet, we created the plasma. We put a nano-magnetic field center, what we call the nano-coated material, into the center of every core, which means we lock the plasma, which is a plasmatic created by the ionization of the hydrogen which we put in the reactor in the center. Now we have a center which has got a dynamic gravitational magnetic field which is a stock, but a plasma is always in rotation. So we needed to keep it in a time. We could control the rotation at the same time we could control the field which this material, this reactor leaves out. What we did, we added helium and nitrogen and argon sometimes into the system. The reason for releasing nitrogen and helium into the cores was partially to produce the ionization we needed to create plasma for the energies we lost through the field spreading in the lab. But secondly, in fact, through the same principle as the plasma radiates fields out, helium and nitrogen are matter. They have inertia. So as the field of our system interacts with the gaseous atomic structure, does exactly what happens to the sun and to the earth. Creates motion of rotational around the plasma in the core. So now we have a dynamic motor. This is what has been unknown in the world of science. And this rotation of the helium and nitrogen in the core, due to the interaction of the plasmatic magnetic gravitational field of the plasma in the center and the inertia, leads to a fanning system, invisible. So now we didn't need any motors anymore to rotate. And that's why we switched off the motors. And we said we see the plasma, we see the interaction of plasma, we put a little hydrogen, we see how the sun disappears in the lab. So now you understand the totality in part what you've been doing and what we've been explaining. But in a star formation, which the system sits, and the star formation especially which we had 8 different kind of reactors made of different materials, having different properties. We tried to create in them the same plasma condition, but the matters of the reactors dictate partially what happens to the friction between the outer layer of nitrogen and the whole plasma. That's why we had to adjust different reactors different way. And then this has a beauty, a principle of use which we could have used, which we have used, is now each reactor in a star formation system has a different gravitational magnetic field in respect to the others in the other cores. So we have created a gradient of, and it was very hard, Marco was trying to, he come up with it, but he couldn't understand what it does. That gradient between the fields creates a second field motion outside. The field motion inside of the plasma is due to the interaction of the plasmatic magnetic field with the inertia of the atomic high and the nitrogen or helium. But the second field interaction is between the reactors themselves. So not only we created a dynamic reactor conditioned plasma in each core, now we created a dynamic position reactor environment outside the core, because these fields are connected to each other and they link up, and there's always, because of the structure, one is weaker than the other one, so in trying to catch up, it creates a flow of the what we call the gradients in the maggraph of the system. So this clarifies a lot of things which we've done, and it brings a lot of things in order. So as I said, we try to clarify a lot of things which we've been doing and making without actually I thought a lot of people understood everything, but seeing the knowledge seekers sitting with me for 8 months haven't understood it. So it brought changes to change till we understand why and how we are doing things. For this reason, we try to spend more time in theoretical understanding that we can convert it into practical physicality. As I have asked and I've told the knowledge seekers, it's about 2 weeks now, they're sitting and trying to think how to create light with a piece of about 2 centimeters of GaNs material. In fact, I keep on telling you it should take you 5 minutes to do it. And they still haven't found out how that 5 minutes is. Anything, any GaNs or nano GaNs, both of them, because nanomaterial is still a GaNs but stuck together. So yeah, it's still the same amount of GaNs will do. If you understand what I explained about the motion, if you understood the condition of interaction of the creation of light, then you found 2 pillars of the working of the universe. The third pillar comes, which is the heat. The heat comes from the speed of the reaction and a faster gradient between the two. And how you interact them. So in understanding, you know how the light is made. This is in the first book, in the second book, in the third book. And we have discussed it all the time. When a plasmatic magnetic field interacts with another plasmatic magnetic field, in the fields rubbing against each other, you get a residual of plasmatic gravitational magnetic fields, which is the size of the light. And because of the central gravitational field of the Earth, this plasma gets drawn very quickly towards the center. So that's why we see it as a light. That's why it moves as a plasmatic ray, as an entity, as a plasma. If the friction was made and we didn't have the central gravitational magnetic field of the Earth, the field would have stayed around the Earth, never come in, becomes another small plasma. But because we have the central gravitational magnetic field in the center of the Earth, and it's stronger, this again pulls this residual to itself, and we see it as light. Now we understand why we have the daylight, and now how we create light towards the position we are in, which is on Earth. In space, we do not have this condition, because we are not centered to a position, we are traveling. So space is dark. But on Earth, because we are close, can you switch that up please? Because we are close to, we are sitting on top of the strong gravitational magnetic field which is on Earth, this pulls the rays to itself. And because it pulls itself with the same structure as I explained, creation of motion, is so rapid that in passing through, it allows us to observe light. So the central core of the Earth is not just creating gravitational field, it creates a condition that the residual interaction of the fields on the upper layer are pulled towards it, and we see it as light. The same is if you're outside, because your outside point has a field pull. If you're on the moon, you attract the same parts of what is there, so you see as the Earth to be lit. So this answers 2 or 3 things, but it raises 2 questions. We always said that gravitational magnetic field of 2 entities leads to creation of light. And now we just explained that you need gravitational magnetic field of a plasma in interaction with a inertia to create motion. If you send the gravitational magnetic field of the Earth and the Sun and there is no motion, there is no friction. So you have no light. You have to cause the friction that it can reduce residual. And this indicates that we need not only the Fall field forces, we need 4 dynamic motion condition too. That of the Earth around itself, that of the rotation of the Earth around the Sun, that's 2 directional motion. Then you have the motion of the Sun itself in gravity and its rotation in respect to central galaxy. So we have 4 forces to be able to have a daily light on this planet. And now you understand why we have the daylight and nighttime. Because even though the gravitational field forces are spherical, but we don't have 2 factors, which is, one is the gravitational magnetic field of the Sun and the rotation of them against each other. So this completes a mystery about how light, how motion is created on Earth. But there is another point. In the book number 4, which we hope will try to research, I have explained, and I explained this to the knowledge seekers this week, and I've explained this before. The light which we see on the surface of the Sun is not dual fusion. The light we see on the surface of any star is created by gravitational magnetic field of the center, which is radiates out, and then when at a point it becomes matter, these matters have their own gravitational magnetic inertia, and the interaction of these matters gravitational magnetic field or magraps of the inertia with the original gravitational magnetic field which created in the center releases the light on the surface and releases a high friction that allows the heat or the fields of the Sun to radiate outwards. Now you understand for the first time again how the light is created on the surface of the Sun. Not necessarily, as is assumed, the central temperature of the Sun is billions and billions of degrees. Because the heat is created when the fields interact. In the center, you have gradient layers of plasmatic gravitational magnetic field strength that the interaction leads to creation of huge magnetic and gravitational field of the Sun, which dictates the plasma of the solar system. But the light on the surface of any planet is dictated by the strength of the gravitational magnetic field. I have to answer this one. Just 1 second.
The telephone is ringing at the wrong moment. Okay.
This is false alarm. I explained before the program.
It does happen sometimes.
No, it's not a false alarm, but it's not the thing which we thought it is. It's another telephone call. We are expecting for an important call, if need be, to be part of the work which we are doing internationally, and I have to be available the whole day today and tomorrow because of the conference which is taking away in somewhere else for explaining a lot of things in respect to the technology of the foundation. So now you understand how the light is created on the stars. And that's what the reason that some stars have different colors when we look at them. Because the gravitational magnetic field of the center plasma, as it radiates out, it radiates so far from the surface that not necessarily ends up to be hydrogen. It could be hydrogen and a mixture of nitrogen, because of what the environment of this galaxy allows that sun to expand into. So now you have a strong gravitational magnetic field in the center interacting with, let's say, helium, or let's say carbon. So now you get a different light of a star, because it creates different condition. This goes back again what I was explaining to the knowledge seekers, and we went over it last time. A lot of you made these plates. A lot of you made these what do you call it? Copper nano-coated materials, and then you place them in the containers. None of you understood. You were in such a hurry to make something to prove that you're not dealing with a fairy tale, that you haven't understood the reality of one point. Look what you've done. You nano-coated a copper plate. You put the copper plate with a nickel plate, you absorb or you produce the white stuff. You put a copper plate coated with a copper plate, and then you produce the blue stuff. It's the same salt. Why? Have you ever asked a single question why? It's the same copper plate, I just changed. You change it with aluminium, you get a different milkish color, a bit thicker. You put zirconium, you will get a different color, different material. This is the same work as what I explained with the surface of the sun. Your nano layer now has become the sun, because it's a plasma. So it radiates fields, and in the contest and in interaction with this water and salt, doesn't change. But when the amount of the energy as a gravitational magnetic field of the opposite plate comes into play, the field in the water changes. And that's why when you see the videotape which we released today about CO2, is 18 minutes of it, launch this around the world. People will understand the truth about how things are. Watch the whole lot of it. You understand the same proposition. So you release a continuous, none of your nanomaterial ever changes on the copper when you put it with the nickel. Because it's the fields which are radiated from the plasmas of the nanomaterial, exactly like the sun. When it hits and comes to the nickel, it creates an environment over the top of the, or around the water, which is equal to the gravitational magnetic field of CO2. Now, this is what I said from the beginning. Now the knowledge of a man has come to the point that he can make magnet for anything. So what you've done in this process, you have made magnets for the CO2. In the magnets, as you see, this is a magnet here. If I put a plastic to it, it doesn't work. If I put a tissue paper, it doesn't work. It doesn't attract, because it's not in the gravitational magnetic field strength of it. If I put a pen, it doesn't work. The only time it works, when I put equal gravitational magnetic field to. This is what you are doing on the surface of your containers. This is how we produce the first GaNs of materials, and we showed it in the pictures of the containers in the book number 2, I think, 3-4 years ago. This is what was given to you as the first pictures in what do you call it, which when we showed it in a 5-liter water bottle in Holland, tested by Elector. This doesn't come from brainchild of somebody who thinks who's done it and somebody's copied it. This shows how devious the people are. So now you understand the gravitational magnetic field, which released by the nano-copper coat in the environment of the water, in conjunction with more or less a reflector but creator of the field in the matter state, creates an environment on top of the water of CO2. And all you do is literally absorb it. It pulls it in because there is more of them and the field strength in the container is stronger. So it attracts everything down. You'll find out the absorption release changes and reduces for two factors. One is when you collect enough CO2 at the bottom that it connects the two plates. It touches the two plates. So you create a short circuit. Now, if you've been creating and noticing that the production of CO2 has reduced in your container, it's nothing to do with the plates. And then you start a chemical reaction that you start losing your nano copper oxide from the plate. So you have to keep, when you're producing, when we send you the kits to absorb CO2, you see the new kits, which is designed is totally different than what we've shown because it's just been completed by the Italians. It's in a way that the plates will never sit more or less into a GANS material. It sits in a V shape and it goes to the gutter and then you can collect it. Secondly, even if you pull this, you'll find out your production reduced or you don't absorb so much. The reason is very simple. As you have created gravitational magnetic field of CO2, you got to remember one thing. The air above the container contains nitrogen, carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. And then you change and you disturb and you bring the fields in a different direction together. So you bring these four elements which are in the air together and you produce protein layer on top, the fat layer you see. That fat layer creates a new condition and then it slows down the process. So in so many ways you have to be able to always skim the fat off the top, that you keep a constant field equal to CO2 to be able to absorb CO2 constantly. And then you find out when you have a different materials like another copper or aluminum, the thickness of the fat on the top, the protein on top changes because you absorb different materials from the air added to the protein. So now with a CO2 layer you had a vegetable fat. Somebody's phone is open. Somebody's microphone is open. So now because of the change of the condition, now for example you bring down the floating, let's say copper with you into the structure, or you bring the floating another gas which is in the air. So in this process you produce a different fat because now you create a new, what do you call it, interaction. So now for example you produce the protein of the muscle or a meat. This has a huge advantage for our Chinese friends in China, in Beijing. If you understand this process, when you set up these systems to be sold to in China for absorbing the CO2, if you do a little bit of research, because I've been in Beijing, I know some days you can't even see 100 meters away, and out of nowhere suddenly new buildings disappear and you don't see where they've gone to, and there's no cloud, it's just the smog, it's the contamination in the air. You can make a process that in absorbing and creating these fats, you can decontaminate the air. So it's an air pollution cleaning system. This can be done on a larger scale or can be done on a small scale. But again, there is a problem with this process, a huge problem with this process, that as somebody who can see it in advance, it has to be understood. We cannot deplete so fast. We can deplete, I think if a tenth of the world population make these containers, It'll take us about 10 years to deplete or bring the balance where it should be. But at the same time, to bring the balance in the whole organization, we have to allow the mutation of our own body to what it's got used to. You cannot go back and just explain it, expect it to be. There is a structure that we have to understand. Just trying to do something doesn't mean that we have to create more damage somewhere else. And in a way, ourselves will pay for this, because our body needs the time to be able to change and adapt to the new, cleaner energy like 50 years ago, 100 years ago. We cannot receive too much clear oxygen, we will not be breathing properly because our lung is used to the present contamination. So there is a process to be understood. In the cities, long cities, now you have a solution. This is what we offer to the Chinese. And this is what we said about cleaning up after Fukushima. I see a guy trying to put, as I said last time, a paper that he doesn't do it because the guy doesn't even understand radiation in a gamma ray does not need mass. And that's why we just put the Becquerel. It's irrelevant because it's produced and converted. And this is what the Japanese government did not like about what we did originally, because in that process we showed that the reactor number 1 contains plutonium, which is against the international laws. Because in conversion of the fat, when you saw your kakasho in the container, I have to repeat this, I said this before, there is a fat. That fat has absorbed the plutonium, which converted from 136 to 134. We saw increase in 134 in the second test. And that test clearly indicated that the cesium in a different direction has come in, which is only a condition with plutonium creates. And this raises the question, why is the hurry for Japanese government to become weapon technology? Or they have developed a new technology that they can use plutonium for production of their energy. And this is what we said before. Even our condition with Japanese is, as I explained to you, that every unit they sell in Japan of their solar system, the client has to sign that the peace treaty is by first condition for the purchase. Not by just deed, not just by signing it, but by deed that they carry it through. Why we done this? Because Japan, through the bad experience of Hiroshima, has learned peace the prime position in the universe. And they live by it. So now, in one session, it brings a lot of bits which was loose and hanging that you've done in the labs and in your home, and you don't see it. There is a very interesting position has risen by the Chinese researchers. I received a picture from the Chinese researchers that they show Coca-Cola, where there is a blue material outside and a white material inside, and it wasn't like this when they put a salt filled in, what do you call it, copper oxide, the way they put their container, which is salt, in a water, natural processed water, and they start seeing blue material outside the box, in the water, in this natural water. And they wanted me to explain. I wrote to them and asked, does your container have a hole? They said yes, they had a hole, but this has got nothing to do with a hole. If you can repeat the same condition with a non-hole, but in the right condition, the copper oxide in magnetic gravitational field crosses the wall of the Coca-Cola bottle. And it gets deposited blue, as we saw with the same color as the blood of the shoe crab. Very blue. I'd done this myself, and I showed the material to the knowledge seekers yesterday or the day before. So this again goes back to the concept and what we said. No matter ever crosses the wall of the lung into the blood, and no matter ever crosses the intestine into the lymph. Due to gravitational magnetic field specifically set in the body, energy transfers and becomes what you consider it to be at the point of the need. You don't eat a fiber in your food that becomes the fiber in your heart. The same as I explained with the two plates. The two plates, you put one plate in front of the same plate, you get CO2. You just change the second plate with another plate, you get copper oxide. This is the process that no matter ever crosses the wall of intestines or in the lung. So you can see how, if it was a mystery and there was a lot of hot air, now you can see the reality of it, what it is. Try to create the right condition, enough of the metals and conditions in a container, and put it across or in a different environment container of liquid. And then you see what you make, what field you make to cross the wall. Because now the plate is your wall. And then the water in the new container becomes it. Some of you might get CO2, some of you might get nothing because you haven't created the right condition. It doesn't mean we are wrong, or the technology is wrong, or the science is wrong. It's just that you haven't created the right condition till you get it. And our friends in China have achieved it. They posted a picture on one of the Facebooks I've seen, which I received from Dr. Elia. But they couldn't understand what they've done. This is not what we say now about the science. I told you, I start teaching when you develop. If I don't teach you when you haven't developed, because to you it's just a fairy tale. We done this, I produced this condition, and I extracted CO2 in a very much more advanced, or what do you call it, copper in a very much more advanced layer, in a nano plasmatic structure years ago. And the picture came from our Chinese friends. And now the students have seen this bottle when they came 2, 3 months, 4 months ago. I showed it to them. Now that the knowledge is there, we can explain it. So with one step, now you understand biology side and how matters are created at the point of need according to the condition of the salt or the environment and what is in that environment. And this goes back to the medical session when Dr. Elia was showing the different type of muscles last week. Now you understand why. And now you understand why different muscles are created. To lead to absorption, interaction, and attraction of certain type of, what do you call it, lymph that can pass through the bone. It's no use bringing all the lymphs and then trying to sort it out. The structure of the muscles dictates what strength lymph is needed to pass in that part of the bone for the specific use in certain part of the body. So everything is connected together in that sense. Now, if you can repeat it, you come to it. This is another loose points which now brings together, as I said, this 31st teaching knowledge seekers is a very fundamental, because first of all we clarified how motion is created, which was unknown. Now we understand how matters are created in the body or in the place. Now on the other hand you understand how light is always in the direction of us than outside, and because of our gravity. And at the same time, whatever we teach has to be used for the peaceful application. That's our wish, and our wish will be our command. If you turn yourself upside down trying to make use of it to harm another soul, it will not happen. You can't even harm yourself. So this brings another loose bits, but brings the whole knowledge we've been developing over the past few months together that you can understand. This brings us to the point why the knowledge seekers are sitting and playing with their thumbs trying to find a way to create light. Mark is looking at me with a smile. The whole principle of the creation of light is interaction of the fields. If you look, I showed this for the first time with the children program last week, if you haven't watched it. This is literally, if you look, this is a bunch of nanomaterials we made, and if you look at it in reality, and bring it, centerize it. This gives you very much the behavior of a plasma from the center, but you look at it two-dimensionally. You have the center, and as the field opens up and there is less field forces, you open up to different fields. And then you can put another one to it, and then add to the whole circle. And then you understand the behavior of plasma in respect to each other. If I put it in this way and consider two plasma. So, or you can go opposite to it and see how the fields play. You can see the direction of motion and the interaction. And then you understand how you can absorb one plasma into other. All you do, you increase the field center and more fields reduction or spreading off. And that's how you add to the weight of the center, and you go from hydrogen to helium and up. In so many ways in our work in past day or so, I try to explain physically for the knowledge seekers to understand the difference between the, what do you call it, a GANS and an atom. An atom is made of a plasma of electron. And, did you bring everything up? Yeah. And the plasma of a proton. But, in fact, in totality, each one has its own plasma, has its own Coulomb barrier, has its own atmosphere. But when they come together, two of them, they make a plasma like this. So the white one, the big white one, is the plasma of the two proton and electron together. But each one has its own plasma. In the matter state, we see the two. But when you make another plasma the same as this, which is next to it, I'll try to come in that you can see the picture. Tell me if you can see everything, please. Rick?
If you can pull the camera out just a little bit, we should be able to see everything, or pull those down just a little bit.
Okay, is it better now?
Yeah, I can see the whole thing. How's that for your positioning, Rick?
Is it okay now? You can see the bottom?
Yep, that's good. Yeah.
Okay, so now on this side, I don't say left or right. I'm going to put a little thing that they don't roll this set. So the plasma, the big plasma in the back, is the plasma of the Coulomb barrier, as you see it, as we talk at the present in a matter state. The plasma on this side, which has nothing in front of it, is the GANS of the same. Outside, behavior-wise, it's the same, but inside, we don't see the electrons and the protons. Because, as I explained, what has been the dream of the nuclear physicist? A fusion. Because you create the condition, the two electron and proton, their fields come together, and then as a totality, they create a GANS. Behavior looks like a hydrogen, but you cannot see anything because this time you have managed to bring the two fields of two electron and proton together, and then the behavior is as one. And this is what's the difference between a GANS and a matter. So, because it has no field interaction to lose, it can reach further. In the atomic structure, a proton and electron, to keep the Coulomb barrier as an atomic structure, they have always to interact. They're always continuously in motion. They're always continuously losing. And depends where the electron is, you get a different performance. But in the GANS state, you get a continuous, the same interaction. So this changes the whole structure. This goes back in a way to understanding the production of a neutron dividing into electron and a proton too. Because a GANS has more plasmatic magnetic field because it loses less internally. So if you can create a condition that it becomes matter to become electron and a proton, or become GANs of another matter, or transfer from GANs to mass, when it goes this way, it has to release some of its energy, and this is what you collect in your systems when you make a series of cups and things and connect it together and you collect gas. So these are the loose bits in the science of the technology, which I think it clarifies a lot of things. It brings a lot of things home in understanding how the things are and why they are and what we say on what ground and what reason. You don't, a blind doesn't follow a blind, because we can all fall off the cliff. So this way we keep order in the whole thing, and then you understand the behavior of it. We try to make this more understanding in the children's program. If you have a problem to understand, try to go back into the children's program, because we try in the children's program, as most probably some of you have seen it, we do not speak about magnetic field. In a way, we don't create a problem to try to change it and solve it. We started the sessions speaking directly about plasma. This is the reality of the universe. In the Saturday session, we'll explain it to them in how plasmas interact with the toys, which they can immediately understand. And if you like to understand more, go back on the children's channel. We had some problem with the camera last time, because we couldn't position it, but now we're finding more how to do it and the way to do it. Is there a question? I think it'll be nice to show who's sitting around here. Now that we have the camera, you can see the faces of our people around here. This is John. Hello, John.
Hello.
This is Arman. Hello. He's awake, even still in the American time. And you can see, oh, Marco, I have to turn. If I turn, I'll lose my position. Hello, Marco. Marco is here. So now we bring you home. And I presume you want to see my ugly face. I'm not bad there. Hello and good morning to you. We try to make the foundation as a family and not just sound down the, what do you call it, the Skype tube. We sit here, we have 2-3 laptops, we monitor everything, and we try to teach you as much as we can, the way we can. You're literally in the Keshe Foundation Center teaching room. And this is how it's going to be. We open the doors, but at the same time, we try to bring the knowledge in a free way that can be understood by everyone in a very practical way. I think I moved this one, that's why you lost your centrality. Yeah. Is there any question? Can I say something, because I think it's important to explain. We know, as we said, this technology has taken the attention of a number of major governments around the world. And I know you're listening, or you're listening to the recording later on in the week. We have received your emails, we have received your requests. Please allow us time to be able to share knowledge with our knowledge seekers, and then at the same time we share with the governments. People from the governments in South America and people from Africa, and especially from Central East Asia. I respect your request and our knowledge is yours, but at the same time, if we move, we have to be able to keep our teachings open worldwide. In request of understanding and developing different aspects of the technology, as you understood with your scientists in your governments, is understood fully by us. Our doors are open, you can come in any time you like. We teach as we have done. There are new documents being written for the national securities which will be released to them to understand the application and implication. And through the appropriate channels which you have asked us will be released to them in time. in governments regarding asking us for development of energy directly in conjunction with the ministries will respond within the coming weeks. In respect to the space technology, in working with some national space organizations, we have no problem in accepting you and for you to accept our technology on an equal basis. I thank you for being patient, but at the same time, I understand the position as it stands, and as I said, even today, we are standing by because of the presidential meeting in respect to a situation in which the Institute is involved directly. Good morning. Now, is there any question?
Yes, Mr. Keshe, good morning. This is Lucian. I will ask Rick if he can share the screen.
What happened to you last week? We missed you.
Working hard because I was preparing some materials. So until Rick will share the screen, I will start to do the introduction. We have some breaking news like CNN. Yeah, I will give you a micro lecture.
Okay,
so,
we are
Rick,
ready.
Can you open the PDF?
We close our cameras if you want.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, Rick.
Where is Luciana comes? Why Luciana comes to win?
Yeah,
yes, please.
Line with Vince.
Okay, so until Rick will share the screen, I want to make like the CNN stuff. We have some breaking news here.
Fantastic. Have you called the CNN to be ready?
Not yet.
You know,
so
being very blunt, you know, CNN has been told they cannot show anything about Keshe Foundation. You know that. So I don't think they're going to show this. Fox has been told they cannot show anything about Keshe Foundation. So I hope they show this one. At least maybe they do because you're American. Okay.
Okay.
Now
so
go ahead.
Before going into the micro lecture, I want to go with you on some very basics. That is my understanding that people don't understand. So you said that ring magnets will possess McGrath properties and
they behave near, they don't possess, they behave near enough because they're not fully spherical.
Right. So in the first picture, I was representing.
I haven't seen it. We're still seeing a rotating circle. We haven't seen the picture yet.
No, that first figure 2.
Yes, Lucian.
Can anyone else see the picture there?
Oh, I see it on John's. We receive it on John's. Okay.
Okay.
The red one.
Okay. Yes, it's 2.1. Yeah. That is a ring magnet which is having magnetization actually on axis. And figure 2.2 is showing the same issues but the fill lines. Okay, in the figure, let's see what.
Can I ask you, Luciana, can you tell me who's doing all these beautiful pictures for you? You must have a lot of assistants.
Oh, no, there are software pieces that can draw this kind of solid modeling. Some of them I'm doing myself.
Yeah, I know. I want to know who are the others who do the other sums. You have a very good team.
Some of my friends.
We know who you are. Don't worry. Don't worry. I'm just pulling your leg. We know who you are. We know fully who you are, what you're doing. It's just that people understand to do these kind of things. Yeah, to do these kind of things and the way you do tests, it cannot be done by one individual. And it's nice to know people work in the background as a team. Doesn't matter in what level.
It's some time-consuming job.
Yeah, I know who you are. Don't worry. Carry on.
So in figure 2.3, we are showing a radial magnetized ring magnet. So the field
Yeah.
lines are different ways. So now, basically, you were saying that if we will have like a plasma field, we will need, as shown in figure 2.4. I'm sorry for the very primitive inversion, but there are two ring magnets that are having, let's say, the north poles face to face. So based on your definition of the plasma, which is a plasma is created when we have two magnetic fields that are traveling the same direction, and they have a difference in their field strength of the field of one electron. So if we put these two magnets as shown in this picture, that means between them we are going to have some sort of plasma. We don't know in what strength, because we don't know at what distance these two magnets will start to repel each other.
Yeah.
But now is coming the question, a lot of people are asking this question. Opposite to a regular bar magnet, why this ring magnet will have a gravitational magnetic field? So
The thing is, first of all, let's go step by step. In the ring magnets, we use the ring magnets for demonstration. The nearest is to the rattle magnets, which I shown. In the ring magnets, you show you can rotate only in one axis. So if you can rotate at the same time in two axes, put on the X and the Y, which becomes spherical, then you find out the fields become aligned. Now, what I said, what you're showing to us, all you've done, you change the flat magnet to a ring magnet, but you're still showing the property of the flat magnet. So when you consider ring magnet, that's why I put the ring magnets on the side and then I put the rattle magnets. Even the rattle magnets, if you cut them along the length, one half is north, one half is south. And the only near plasmatic condition you get is when you rotate four of them, or actually five of them, with one in the center, that the middle starts. I'm trying to set that up in the lab to show you near enough plasma of the rotation of a plasma. So in so many ways, when you have a ring magnet like this, you still have in and out across the flat of the matter of the ring. So that's what I said. This you're trying to explain something which is shows three-dimensional. It sits on one end and rotates, but in fact it does not rotate totally as a plasma. So you
Mr.
still
Keshe?
show the line. Yeah.
If that rotated at high speeds, would that show more of the plasma type response, or
Near to it,
is there?
not no.
Okay, there's
I
not
show
a
you.
speed
Yeah.
limit that you can. There's not a
Yeah.
speed limit that you can suggest at 1,000,000 RPM or something. It turns into plasma.
No.
It's like
You have it. All of you have it. You already made the GANs. There is a condition you can do with the GANs that you can create near enough plasma condition. Near enough plasma condition. We've done this before. Now Armand is partially in the process of doing it. Then you can see it, because I'm very careful about when I see it, because what Luciana shows is very correct. This is how I built my knowledge up. I always thought that way. Till by building the health reactors, I found out the plasma doesn't behave that way. And it's, even though I made the spherical magnets, but when I cut the spherical magnets you can buy in the market, it's literally like two magnets put inside. Even if they make it with resins, then it doesn't become magnets. It just doesn't work. It realigns itself. So it's the nearest you're going to do. If you understood how we created the motion in the space I explained today, In the coming weeks, I'll show you how to make real visible plasma. I told you, you go to the level, I'll show it to you. Now you go to the step. Luciano brought a subject of the wire around the coil last time when you came online. I showed the voltage. We opened the door in a different way. Dr. Elia was here. She opened the door in a different way. We changed the direction of the teaching. Some people say I'm schizophrenic. I do say something and I don't do it, and then no, because I say something to be done. But when I see the capability of understanding is not there, I have to slow down or change direction till you understand. What you've shown here is beautiful. I understand exactly. I've been through this dilemma. I tried to answer it in different ways, but you cannot even replicate this with coil magnets, induced currents in them, because then you are limited to the matter which the coil is made of. A plasma has got no limitation. So this is what at the moment I'm pushing the knowledge seekers here to achieve. They should be able, hopefully, if I push hard enough this week or next week to extend the knowledge, that they should be able to show you the first light system without the torch, without any power supply, going exactly the direction which you are going. Because
yes, I will continue. And
okay, carry on.
okay, go ahead.
Go ahead, carry on. I'll listen. At least I hope I explained something.
Okay, so in the figure 2.5, we will have the structure of graphene, of graphite.
Yeah.
The reason I am bringing it here is because I don't know what will be the structure of the copper nanolayers. I'm assuming that could be squares because copper crystalline structure is cubical. So as I didn't know what is the real one, I was putting this figure about
spherical.
The graphene.
It's spherical.
Spherical. Okay.
It's still spherical.
So basically, when we are doing our nanolayers, we will have this kind of spheres, let's say,
yeah,
with a specific distance between them.
Yeah.
We will calculate and we'll see the real distance. This is 0.67 nanometers. And all this introduction was because in figure 2.6, they are seeing, based on your definition, what plasma is. So we have a field, magnetic field, of an arbitrary 1 unit, whatever that will be. And the second field that is traveling in the same direction with it will be 1 unit minus an electron, as per your definition. So now, coming back to the theory.
Minus 1 electron, where does the electron come in?
No, you said that in order to have a plasma, the two magnetic fields their strengths have to be different with at least the strength of magnetic field of 1 electron.
Yes.
So now it's coming the question. In the hydrogen atom, right?
Yeah.
We know how to calculate the magnetic field strength of 1 electron.
Yeah.
But now if you pull out the electron from the atomic hydrogen, we don't have, cyclorotation or something like this around the proton. It's probably just traveling linearly or however it's traveling. So we are going to need...
No, wait. It travels, it rotates in respect to the other plasmas in the vicinity. And when you in a Ganser state, you do not extract the electron. You add the plasma of the electron into the plasma of the proton. It's right. Not a reduction. Okay, so we are clear in that.
Yes, I understand that. But this example I was giving is that if we have two magnetic fields, in order to have a plasma, we need to have a gradient difference between them.
Yeah.
With the amount of 1 electron. So coming back to the previous figure, 2.5, let's say if we know that we have 2 layers of graphene or whatever, carbon, or let's say we have a distance of 0. Whatever is 67.
Yeah.
Let me see. Yes, 0.67 nanometer. That means supposedly we have 2 electric currents in each layer. We need
You
to.
don't have an electric current, you have a gravitational magnetic plasmatic current. It's a big difference. It's a huge difference. We've seen this with Dr. Ivan last week. He connected the nano layer into a meter, and then he said, as I push them, my current goes higher. And then it gets to a point I cannot get there. And I explained to him that as you push the layers, you release the energy in the plasmatic magnetic field in the layers, and then it comes, you cannot crush it anymore. So the field is gravitational plasmatic, not electron or protonic. It's a big difference.
Okay, I got a picture. So all this introduction was for the lecture, micro lecture. Now it's coming to micro lecture. Yes.
Yeah, I'm waiting
So
for the
basically-
CNN bottom line.
Yes, now it's starting the CNN program. All the people who did the experiments with the GANS cells, so I want to clarify that people that are doing with the saltwater cells, they have some ions. So they will have some current in the classical way. But the people who are doing the experiments with the cells with GANs have almost no current, it's 5 microamps and stuff like that. So the question was how we can build a conversion device to, as you explained, to have some frictions between the ganses so we can get the real current. That means electric or magnetic field in the strength of 1 electron, so you can push electrons on the copper wire. So
You made a power supply. You have made a power supply.
Yes, I will explain immediately.
Yeah,
But,
I know what you've done.
try-
I know what you've done. You're correct. Let's see.
I'm trying first to explain the background. So, making the investigation, I found out that the digital meters have precision resistors that are built by metal oxide. So this is why with the digital meters, people were able to detect voltage and sometimes current, and with an analog meter, they were not able to detect anything because that is copper winding that is moving the needle. So now I will describe the experiment. I have 2 cells which are consisted in regular copper, 1 regular copper electrode, no nano-coated, and 1 regular zinc electrode, no nano-coated. Liquid water, the GANs CO2 connected in series. I mean,
you put the
zinc
GANs CO2 in. Excuse me. Can you clarify? You put the GANs of CO2 in. Okay. Yeah. Carry on.
Into the water, right?
Yeah.
So the cells connected in series. In my cells, because I did it quite wrong, I have only about 300 millivolts on each cell. The other people in the group are much better on that. They have about 1 volt, 1.2 volts. But I'm speaking about only my case. So each cell is having about 300 millivolts each. Now, if we are trying to connect something like a bulb or anything on this cell, obviously it's no current, 0. So now is coming the experiment. I connected a analog milliampere meter in series with a regular battery, making a little advertising for Panasonic, which are very good batteries, dry batteries. That means carbon zinc. And in the moment in which the battery is connected, the voltage is raising from 0.3 volts to 1.5, which is the battery voltage. At a current about 50 milliamps. This is going to take somewhere to 1 second. After one of the cell is loaded, to speak so, which is equivalent to some sort of capacitor, if one puts the milliampere meter in parallel with the cell, it can draw 50 milliamps. And the cell is going to zero for about 5 seconds. In this time, the voltage is coming back from 0 to 300 millivolts. So it's for the first time when we can see a MAGRAF plasma capacitor working as a storage of energy. So in this way we can, I will not go into that word that people enjoy over unity, but people who will do the cell properly, so the cell will have something like 1.2 volts. Technically, in order to charge the cell, you're not going to have the energy needed to bring it from 0 to 1.5 volts. You are going to get the energy just to bring it from 1.2 to 1.5. And after that, when you discharge it, you have the whole energy. So that is creating the friction you was talking about into the layers.
Yes,
And
but I have
point,
to explain to Luciana. Let me explain to you.
Yes.
We already have done this here in the lab. We already have seen this, and it's something we saw years ago. In the torch which we show, we have a 3-volt resistance barrier, and then it charges up. And then we've seen this process, we understand this. The energy which you are seeing a free energy or whatever, look at the video which we released today for CO2 absorption. The energy which what you call free energy, in that video I refer to it too, comes from the gans of CO2 which you put in the liquid. The energy is not free. The plasma, you have given the plasma in a container where you put the 2 electrodes, and the energy is released by the plasma of the gas. Yes, this is what John did. John originally put these electrodes up in the water, and they were not in the GANs. And then we added into the GANs, and there is non-electrodes in the background, and some coated and some non-coated. So the energy which you're referring is CNN breakthrough. It is a CNN breakthrough, but because it's Keshe Foundation, they're not showing it. Is it released, the video? Pardon?
Yes, it's on YouTube now.
You will see a 20-minute version later on today. This is for promotion of the kit.
Right.
So here you see that. We know what you're showing, we've seen it, we know it, because the knowledge seekers took the GANs and put it in the water, and for charging the battery. So what you say is 100% correct, but the energy which is to use free energy is coming from the interaction of the GANs plasmas with each other, which, as I said, you see that's a light. As I said to the knowledge seekers yesterday or the day before, if we had a, what do you call it, aura detector, we should be able to see this. And this is what it is. Let me explain to you something very interesting. This video you're watching,
Lost the audio? Just me?
We seem to have lost the audio at the point of Mr. Keshe saying something interesting. Yes, we can hear you now.
Oh.
We lost the audio there at the point of Mr. Keshe saying, if you look at something interesting.
hello? Can you
Hi,
hear me?
you're back? Yes, we can hear you.
Are we back?
Yes.
Can you open your microphone when it's not connected to this, John? Can you hear us?
It's a little weak, but yes.
It's very muffled. Yeah, it's muffled.
You should be able to hear your system. Yeah? Hello?
Can you guys hear us?
Can you hear us?
Can you hear us?
Yeah.
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Yeah, hello.
Where are we? We got disconnected. We got hacked?
I don't know why the computer should go now into restart.
Yeah, to restart. We are getting hacked.
Can somebody type in the chat, please?
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Let them know that we
I
can hear
can.
them.
Yes, we can hear you. Hello?
I can see Luciano
Write
there.
it down.
Write down, can they hear us?
It's probably just the
I
audio.
hear Rick, Vince, and the doctor.
Yes.
Or let them to invite us back. We see it, we are live. It's just that they can hear us.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Now you understand what I said. We got to get that second unit like this.
Should we have them restart, Vince?
No, it's probably just the settings for the computer. He's probably not going through the speakers or has it muted
USB.
because he's listening on the other side.
Okay, can you hear me now?
There he is. There he is.
Okay.
Yes.
Now. So now what you've shown, Luciana, is something we already have done. Your energy is not a free energy, it's the energy of the interaction of the gases which you put in the other bucket. And this will be continuous. And the current which you see is a conversion of the energy from GANS state or plasmatic state into the matter electron level due to the, due to the use of the metals in your other container. Because now you're using matter, and matter is electron based, so you only absorb what is in electron length of the energy. It's beautiful what you've done. We already have achieved it. I achieved it nearly 5 years, 6 years ago, because I used to call Dirk Lorenzens every day and say, I'm enlightened, that we try to see how long we can be enlightened. And we were enlightened for months and months, and then we give up sending an email every morning to say we are enlightened. So, because we had a light on my office desk in Belgium, so it was every day there, we saw it, and I just send an email to Dirk regularly, I'm enlightened, or the light is on. So, you're not, in a way, it's a breaking news, CNN breaking news, but not because it's Keshe Foundation. You would have received the Nobel Prize immediately. They would have changed.
Yes, but I want to clarify something. If one connects, let's say, a resistor to a GANS cell, the voltage goes down. If it's not using this method.
Pardon?
So in other words, let's say we have a regular capacitor.
Yeah.
It will, how to say, it will decrease the voltage of the cell very dramatically.
We done this. Actually, John did a 5 in series capacitors, and you do not change. The recharging is very rapid, because by accident I happened to touch the 2 ends and it just went like a bigger spark, because I was doing a demonstration with our Japanese colleagues in Tokyo in a meeting. And then I explained to them what happened, and within a few seconds it was charged back up again. And this is again goes because of the capacitor has electron-based material in it. It's the new systems to build have to be, even the new batteries, which we're going to storage system we have to develop, have to be on the GAN speed, because it's be very rapid. It'll be instantaneous. They link up. They don't even need a wire connection. This is the structure of the new materials. What you do is fantastic. But if you look at these containers, which is one of the Johns made, here we use copper oxide, and you see a nanomaterial, and there are 2 non-coated elements, electrodes in there, aren't there?
Zinc and
in each container,
solder, which is lead and tin.
there is one is zinc, one of them, and one of them is lead and zinc.
Lead and tin.
Lead and tin. So in each bottle you see 3 electrodes. 2 of them, in a way, what you've done in 2 containers, we done in 1 container, and we see the same process. And if you look at the end of that's what do you call it, commercial, we show it. Here you convert the plasmatic gravitational magnetic field into the electron as it is.
Yes, and because you are here, I have one more question.
Fantastic. Yeah.
is
You see these two
your
end of
ratio?
sorry, you see the end of these two electrodes where the black and red is? I happen to touch these two, and the capacitors discharge, because there are 4 capacitors, they're big capacitors. And then the spark went and the charge came. And the charge comes from the plasmatic magnetic field of the GaNs, which is getting released. And in the advertising, I say you have a what do you call it, energy source, free energy source you've been looking for. So if you listen to the 18-minute commercial, you see we show this already as a commercial unit to be commercialized. In next 2 weeks, I just received a copy of the unit from the Italian manufacturers yesterday. Carry on.
Yes, and regarding the units, I have a question. Is important the ratio between the column of liquid and the air into the container? Because I've seen that probably you have half air,
No, it's
half
just by
liquid.
accident. No, it's just by how John has done it. Because if you try to keep your plates, submerged all the time, you will find out that you don't allow any chemical reaction to come in. And that's why when we give the kits, we always say you have to keep your plate submerged, because what is above in the dried, unless there is a moisture in it, does not affect the energy production and conversion. But this is very old-fashioned.
No, I was not speaking about.
But we also did this.
What about?
Pardon?
Ian Brett also did this. We did this about a month ago, where we took the sandwiches that we were discussing before, refined them in different ways, and we found out that it adds to the voltage of any battery, and continues to charge and discharge through the GaNs, through the GaN cell, and keep the static voltage. So it's like charging and discharging.
I think something interesting. Rick, can you go back slightly on this video where we show this at the beginning, where I picked the unit up? Go back slightly, very, very slight pictures. Yeah, no, go forward. Okay. Is there a closer up than this? Okay, no. Go down, go back. Oh, yeah, go back down, go back down. Okay, let us explain to you what it is in this connection. We have connected one material in a GaNs connection and one material in a matter connection. One electrode is connected to the nano layer of the next unit, and one electrode is twisted around the wire, soldered. So we are taking both plasmatic and electron currents at the same time. That's why you see a very big voltage. This is the way John set the unit. So as it comes up, the two electrodes of the two metals, they connect in 2 different ways, which means we enhance both AC and a DC current flow. And then when the AC goes into the next one, has to boost the DC, because it's a surplus energy. So we use the GaNs material more or less as a converter. But even this process of producing material in what the knowledge seekers are developing, and hopefully they come to the understanding of it, is obsolete. As your understanding is growing rapidly, as you extend the knowledge, we open the doors. In a coming days, hopefully, if I can get Marco and Armin and John think in a cosmological way, you will find out you do not even need these. There are no electric motors, there are no electric currents, there are no wires in the universe, and you see the light. And one thing I've been telling all of them in the past 2 or 3 days, it puzzles me how you lot are still playing this game. I must have been a very bad teacher.
Before going, I want to discuss one more issue with you. After, let's say, 2 days, on the copper wire that is going to the liquid,
Yeah.
two spheres appeared. Speaking about the Trinity, a very small sphere of CO2 gas on the tip of the copper wire, that means below the liquid, and a sphere of CO2 gas around the copper wire at the level of the liquid, the interface liquid air. So, could you comment on this? How these two spheres appeared and why?
We see a lot of these on the plates we have in the lab. Is the field which, you see, the only way I can explain it is that most of the material we use are not purely 100%, what do you call it, the same atom. And the mixture of alloys which are in these, even let's say copper plate or copper wire, creates a slightly different environment on the plate, which allows these units that are accidentally to be the same or twin. On the big plate which we had is more or less full of it. The lead plate, the zinc plate, or is it the one lead, the big one with the copper one?
Zinc.
It's a zinc plate. We see this more or less white is covered with it.
Zinc.
Yeah, we have this unit, as you see, even if you look on the right-hand side on the zinc, you see it. It's you see the white. Even in the copper plates, sometimes we get them deposited. These are because of the impurities of the material. And this is one of the reasons I put all the reactors of John out of the lab. Because, as I explained in the last workshop or the workshop before, in the ceramic used to build these reactors, something like 14, 15 different kind of material is used. And in heating them and merging it together, and then you're having a cavity, you create, as I say, a 7 combination in a 49 material in lottery gives you 14 million combination of fields. So this is what you're getting. These are because of, as far as I can explain, it's due to the impurities, which creates a different condition on the point. But because you still have the copper, it enforces to be white and CO2 because it's the origin of the gas in the bottom. Don't forget, you're sending continuously fields around your container, not just through your container. The game of electron and electronic is going through wires from one to another. Now you're playing with plasma. These containers have no limitation and barrier for them. This is what I explained in the medical side, yes, last time. The gravity, 80% of the communication in the body of the man is through the plasmatic fields and not through the neurosystem. Now you see it. Now you can understand more.
So,
that's why you get these conditions. Carry on.
So from the point of view of the, how to say, efficiency, should it be a good idea to clean it up, to keep the copper wire clean? So to destroy these spheres with something?
In a way, as long as it doesn't come in touch with the other plate, it doesn't make any difference. It should actually increase your efficiency of production of CO2. You got to realize a point, and that is your plasmas after certain strength, they're not at the strength of the system you need. So you have to develop a system like as you have, and you think by accident you come across it, that you can replenish the magnetic gravitational field at the strength you need continuously. Because some of your material will convert and will not create or release fields at the strength which you need or you want to detect. On the other hand, when you understand the property of the composite mixtures, and you can do it in a dynamic reactors, then in a space, these become the fingerprint of the materials which you need. Then if you want copper, you use that composition. You want uranium, you use that composition. This is what I was explaining yesterday to the knowledge, and they laughed. If you understood what you have in your hand, if you understood what is being given to you as a knowledge, you created the gravitational magnetic field of CO2 between the copper and keep that picture there, please. I want to tell you something about that picture. Go back here. Go back to the beginning. Go back to the beginning if you can, please. Go back to
Okay, and here I want to interrupt you
yeah,
just a
go on.
second.
Let me
because
explain to you.
looks,
Let me explain
okay.
this to you. So now you manage with one plate to create a CO2, yes? And now you change the same plate, kept one plate and changes the other plate, and you manage to absorb copper oxide from the system. Now it comes a point. You have been taught, if you haven't understood up to now, the process to be able to create any material you need at any time, anywhere in the universe. If you understood what you've done, and it's just something to see some energy or some gas. If you look at the bigger picture, you can change the material on the other side, or salinity of the water. Would you like plutonium from air? Or would you like gold? People will start testing and do things, and they will see. People who have gold try to nano-coat your gold and put a gold plate in. Oh boys, you have half a kilo tonight. If you're a gold merchant, please do it and show the picture. We've done it. If you manage to put a copper, nano-coated, and a copper, and you manage to make copper oxide, gold cannot be oxidized. You receive a pure gold from air. Water will rain gold. But you have to do it in a specific way to be able to nano-coat the gold. It has a specific way to be done. This is what I showed to the knowledge seekers the other day in a reactor in Tehran. I asked the authorities, I just want a screw. And they told me I'm crazy. I said, I make gold in the reactor. And we did make gold in the reactor because I created the condition. This is how puzzles me. You lot are so becoming narrow-minded. Open your eyes, open understanding, total understanding. This is what I keep on telling to the governments. How many tons of gold do you want in which bank we put it? Rothschilds can have as much as they like today because they can extract everything. Every single atom of hydrogen on this planet can become gold. But they can't breathe, so they need to leave it.
Yes, but before you go in another direction,
I'm not
I
going in
want
another
to
direction. I'm
finish
going in
what,
the direction. Yeah, go on. Carry on.
we want to finish this so we can understand. You said that if you have a copper nano-coated plate and another nickel, you get CO2.
Yeah.
But now it is a question, probably is my question and other people are asking the same question. If I'm having, let's say, 5,000 layers on the copper nano-coated plate, it will be a specific gravitational magnetic field. You have 30,000 layers, the field, the mag-graph will be higher, obviously. You have 100,000 layers, it'll be even more bigger.
No,
and I have 200,000 layers. So that will increase based on number of layering, isn't it? So
not really. It just allows for you to capture further out from the top of the container CO2s.
It will increase the distance of the radius of attraction.
Yeah. Expands, as Marco said, expands your magnetosphere. Because your limitation is in the copper. You got to, if you put a copper and copper together, you'll find out your copper, which is coated, soon will lose its coating because you release partially in a copper, you're releasing partially the layers in. In CO2 with copper lead, you create the environment. And then you'll find out if you look very precisely across your copper plate, you don't have only copper, you have some CO2 in it as well. And then if you want a pure nano copper, do what our Chinese colleagues have done, but do it the right way. Then you achieve pure nano copper, and then you can do the same thing with any material. It is what I keep on saying. Understand the interaction of the plasmas, not half plasmas, half matter. Because as you increase, you cannot increase the limitation of the nano layers on each plate is equal to the gravitational magnetic field, which can create a balanced field that it can separate atomically the matter from the outer surface of the wire. So if you go to 100,000, most probably you never achieve it, because your layers are not built from the top in, they are pulled from the surface of the atom up of the matter. So the limitation comes by the materials and the gravitational strength field of the matter magravity itself.
Well, I think we can see that directly in a rust bubble on a car, can we not? It only goes a certain distance and then it flakes off and destroys itself.
That's a chemical reaction. It's a big difference. This is what I showed you, the electron and the proton and what do you call it, the Coulomb's barrier of matter, and I showed you the plasma of the matter. If you allow anything by any way or shape, some sort of electric current appears between the two plates, you go half plasma, half electric. That's why I said you have to try to release your, or extract your CO2 before it reaches and touches the two plates. So in that case, you create a plasmatic current flow, not a matter current flow. And that's why with the nanomaterials, you can twist them together. You can put 20 plates in the same container. It will not change, you still absorb CO2. It goes according to the gravitational magnetic field balance in the environment. So it should be easy for you to be able to extract whatever you need. As I said, if you can create a condition like our Chinese friend in China, they can extract all the poisons from the atmosphere of the, what do you call it, Beijing. And then God knows what rare materials land on their plate. As I said, the polluted atmospheres over the cities are the gold mines hanging on top of us and stuff underneath us. We haven't found out how to change them. Because most of these gases, most of these materials which you see as a pollution over the cities does not come from the exhaust. It comes from the environment which the CO2 and other materials have created, that a lot of them get converted from the environment and the atmosphere directly into what it is. And then it adds to it. Environmental contamination in the cities is partially due to burning of the CO2 or what is in the exhaust coming out of the car. But partially it's exactly what you're doing in your CO2 containers. The new materials create a condition which convert the matters in the atmosphere back into materials which is poisonous to us, or it becomes like a cloud because they stick to the CO2 and the moisture which is in the air. So I'm sure if you go to, let's say, a city like Beijing and extract all the materials in the air, we find out some of it doesn't even exist in the exhaust. But because we have created the condition in the environment, is a plasmatic, it has a size, then we convert and we extract whatever is in the environment. And then becomes suspended because that's what it is. And that's partially goes back to the story of the sheeps, which I told you can get gold out of it or whatever the rare earth material, because very, very grazes, this is the same process. But the mines are on top of us instead of being underneath of us. It's us to find out how to extract these mines. And they are very rich in material. And now we know the process how to do it. This is the same process as we're using in Fukushima for decontamination of the tritium. We create a condition which is equal to tritium and the material gets absorbed. This is the same condition as now is under investigation with the health authorities in Africa regarding Ebola. We are trying to develop a material which is a matching to the Ebola, that Ebola through magnetic field as a virus can attach itself to it and it can literally urinate it out. The trials, the process has started. We got to see how correct we are. This is one of the most direct approach than chemical approach for the not microbe infections, but for what do you call it, viruses.
Yes, Mr. Keshe, but here I have a very quick question so we can understand further the process.
Your questions are
so
always
we have a very limited supply. Thank you. So we have a very limited supply of metals that we can nano-coat. Let's say titanium.
No, you can
nickel.
coat any material. You can even coat, we're talking with Marco, you can even coat the Coca-Cola plastic bottles. You have to I think what you said is, it shows, sorry to say, when you haven't understood the difference between nanomaterials this way and how they produce nanomaterials in industry. In industry,
That was Lucian.
Yes, but let me finish first the question so you can have the answer.
I've got to tell you this because it's important.
Okay.
In industry, you paint the nanomaterial on the material. In this technology, you separate the atomic structure of the matter from itself to its plasma condition. So you can plasmatize any material. You have to find the right condition environment, not to melt the metal, but create a condition just below melting and evaporation that you can capture it in the layer. Then you can coat it, and you can even coat hydrogen. Carry on.
Yes, so basically, I will continue with what I was saying so you can understand what will be the question. So, supposing I have a supply of metals, I don't know, nickel, titanium, whatever, and this will, as you mentioned a few moments ago, will have a specific gravitational magnetic field probably dictated by the mass of the metal. So now, if we are speaking about molecule, as you said about poisons and compounds and so on, so probably the equivalent gravitational magnetic field of a molecule will be or not being matching that one of the metals that we are nano-coated. So now probably from here is arising the confusions. So once we have a limited supply of, let's say, metals, we can nano-coat, and a variety of molecules, whatever poisons we would like to attract. And usually these, how to say, organic compounds, probably they tend to have a bigger atomic mass. How we are going to proceed with this? Because probably the
if it is a virus, any GaNs of the material should do, because the GaNs of the material radiates a spectrum of fields. If it is microbe, then you have a problem. Because microbes, by their nature, interlock their fields to each other. You have to go into it. You have to be able to break the chain. Viruses is a supply which you can add to release the plasma of the microbe, or extract it or link to it that you take from it that it cannot link up with anything else. In the universe, we don't have microbes. Microbes is an attribute of this planet because of its gravitational condition. and the water and the condition, the material it contains. Microbes are not that difficult to make a GANs of and then try to replicate it, but then you go into the chemical reaction. But with the viruses, that's why if you go back to the Fukushima test, we could affect the gamma radiation immediately because we could close the loop from the field where it was coming with the GANs of the material. We cannot touch beta and alpha ray, which is matter-based mainly. I know exactly what you're talking. We are looking into this because this is important for other things, but I know the answer. If you show me something, you've gone further to that stage, I explain it to you that it can add to the knowledge. But at the moment, nobody has touched it. So microbes are literally like alpha and beta. It's a matter connection. The viruses are like gamma rays. That's why our technology is very rapidly can in fact interfere with gamma sources to reduce it. And that's why we saw the reduction in the field strength, in the water, and in the material. In the test done by, I saw somebody saying the material, blah, blah, blah. This is a lot of nonsense. They don't even understand what they're talking about and write it in Japanese too. And the Japanese were laughing at the whole thing because they understand it, is that with the matter condition, you have interlocking. Even at the radiation, or at the beta and gamma, alpha radiation. In the field, you have field connection interlocking. So it doesn't matter how far the field is. The minute we put the liquid in the radioactive material, it connects with the energy levels of the radiation and it takes it out. That's why we didn't show it by becquerel per kilogram, because that is the field that the mass doesn't change. The mass ratio stays the same. The only thing is you lock the fields, not the matter interactions. And it's the same thing. That's one of the problems we have to look into the cesium, what do you call it, tritium in the containers in Fukushima. If you can make a material which can behave and connect the microbes with viruses, then you have opened a totally new direction in the world of what do you call it, medicine. We have the solution, we can do it, but if I do it, I won't be here long.
Yes, I was referring, for example, to bigger molecule like how they're saying nitrates that are poisoning the water, or nitrates, which are bigger molecules, material matter. So, as an example.
Yes, but the thing is, you have to look at the size of when you got a molecule in the plasma technology, don't look at, as I showed, into how many electrons and protons. Look at the magnetosphere they make as what we call the Coulomb barrier. And then you have to replicate that as a gas, then you can attract it. You see the way, it's beautiful what you say about as a poison, whatever. The way I was poisoned with arsenic, the only way which Dr. Elia could literally stop the whole process is creating a balanced field in opposite to it in, what do you call it, in homeopathy, which is, as I said in my paper about the homeopathy, why it is a magnetic field dependent on the oxygen. So use a common denominator oxygen to link into. There are ways you can do what you're saying to find a matching way, but look at the plasma of the total molecule. Doesn't matter how big, how many different elements are in there. And then try to replicate it in a Ganser state, which is very easy. I show you this because Arman is getting there. One of the systems Arman is setting up is getting there. We can demonstrate physically, you can see it. There is a huge breakthrough coming through the foundation for pharmaceuticals. And Arman is just a matter of weeks, days away from it if he understands what he's doing, that we can show this. We can replicate and create the gravitational magnetic field of any element, molecule, or whatever in the universe, because now the system which Arman is setting up we can measure its field strength. It's a technology development, and it's done by the knowledge seekers. So if if it's very hard for you because you have a single core, in the star formation system, we can create the behavior of, let's say, 100 hydrogen. In the other one, we can create 100 nitrogen, and then let them interact with each other. Then we create a plasmatic condition of a, what do you call it, a protein in a nano state as a plasmatic cancer state. And then we can extract protein from anywhere the way we like, what kind of protein. I think in the next 6 months, man's knowledge will change totally different way as you lot are changing and understanding more of it. But don't look at how you make a nano material of a bacteria. Look what that bacteria contains. Then you know the size of its magnetosphere according to the size and the spacing of the proton and electrons. You see, it has to have a field and only interacts through that field according to the field it creates. That the length is short of 1 electron. If you look at the double bond and single bond in chemistry and translate it into GANs and nanotechnology, you should be able to understand now how it's done. Because they need a field that the two plasmas can maintain and share part between each other. So if you can replicate that as a matter state, you immediately find a solution to any disease. We are on the verge of a huge breakthrough in different direction of the science. But first of all, yesterday or 2 days ago, I was trying to explain things to Marco and he cannot understand. I went to the kitchen and I brought a spoon and I put it on the table. I said, Marco, I can't spoon feed you. You have to feed yourself. You start understanding more, I open more doors. But it's no use me saying because then you don't understand it. Our target at the moment in the foundation for next 2 weeks is to create what we call bright light in the sky in the lab that we can show it to you. It takes me 5 minutes to do it, but now it's in the hand of the knowledge seekers to do it. They're looking at every aspect and reading the books. It's the first time I've seen them reading my books to see what they can find out, what they missed. You have everything.
Mr. Keshe, did you see the question from Ed? He says, would it be possible with the reactors of Arman, if you put them all in a transparent box that was filled with a single gas like argon, and when the reactors are in action with a dynamic maggrav component, it creates a 5 dynamic plasma that reacts with the argon and releases light?
Why do you need to do that? If you want the light in certain colors, you can do. This is what I explained yesterday to the knowledge seekers. It depends on how you create a friction between the reactors. You don't need to put the 5 together to create argon. You can do with 1 reactor. Actually, you should be able to do it with the GANs materials, and this is what I don't understand, but you lot haven't done it up to now. And this is what I'm pushing the knowledge seekers to do.
In a direct, you're saying in a direct argon environment? Or some other gases?
Why do you need gases? Why do you play with matter now? You got a plasma.
Right. Okay.
You can go from argon to helium and go to whatever you like. You have the whole spectrum of the energies in one single GANs of copper oxide or CO2. It's you who's limiting the knowledge, understanding of the knowledge, not the knowledge and the technology. You should, all of you, by tonight, if you understood what I explained this morning and this session today, you should be able to put GANs in a condition, in a position that in interaction, the same as the GANs of the, let's say, the sun interacts with the, what they call it, the maggrav of the sun interacts with maggrav, the earth leads to light, and you have the GANs in your hand, which is 2 plasmas, you should be able to create enough light and not become God. But at the moment you don't understand and don't become God, because I haven't managed to show you the magic. But you have the knowledge. You have everything in front of you past 6 months. There is enough. If you look at these tubes, there is enough in those tubes to light up the whole earth for centuries. It's you don't understand what you're doing. You are still looking
So,
for
Mr. Keshe, here I would like to intervene.
Yes, go on.
I was just to intervene 1 second because I think you are missing a point here. In the university, right? No, so please let me make a point because this is going to save us a lot of aggravation. You go to the course, the professor, and after that, you
go to where?
To the course. It's the lecture, or however you want to name it. It usually is taking like 3 hours. After that, the second day is another 3 hours, what is called a seminar. That means the assistant professor is answering to the students' questions. And after that, the third day, you go into the lab in which they tell you what to do so you can see by yourself and get hands-on expertise to comprehend what you have been told to the course. So after that, you are given homework. So if you may be right that you understand what you're talking, and I'm sure that you understand. But if the other people, sure, first stage is reception of the message. And after that, if they are not proficient in, how to say, when they give you a homework to do some differential equation, you don't have hands-on to resolve the equation. You cannot go into the lab and do measurements because obviously you are not going to know what you are doing there. So, you follow what I'm trying to say? First,
let me answer you. Let me answer you, Luciano, very direct. I always say people will understand and take it from this technology and knowledge according to their own intelligence. The knowledge is there to be a professor. The knowledge is there to be in a nursery. You decide according to your intelligence. You have everything. It's just that how you interpret the knowledge. The thing is, put it this way, I'll put it to you very directly. You have the ganses in two different ganses or the same ganses. You have two plasmas and they're sitting on top of each other. They don't create anything. What about if you make these ganses dynamic against each other? I refer to my talk today. You need 4 dynamic conditions. You need 4 plasmas. And this is what, Marco answers perfectly. You need dynamism. What was the other thing you said? You need gradient to have. And he understands, but he cannot translate it into a condition that can create light. And he lives in a light environment. If we teach you everything, it's very much, we all go to the lecture. We all taught by white teacher, and we go to and you ask your questions as you said, but when we go to the lab, we don't know what the teacher said in the classroom. What's the use of the lab? And then we start causing problem and breaking things in the lab because we don't understand. We have to keep ourselves busy. It's the same thing. There are governments who understood the application and they're enforcing it. But as we said, we want to teach this knowledge to common man. What is puzzling me, and I said yesterday to the knowledge seekers and the day before, you should be able to create light. You speak it, but you don't understand what you're speaking. So it's not the fault of the teacher. It's the fault of you being still conveying everything back into the matter state. Very simple. Luciano, you and your team, you know what you're doing. Today, go and buy yourself a chicken, what do you call it, a fish pump. 2 fish pumps. You have enough gas materials in your fish pumps, in your tanks, and feed them to a nano layer. My God, you will lighten the whole of New York or Washington. But you don't understand it. Do you want me to come and spoon feed you? You have a plasmatic dynamic plasma of a CO2 across a wall, crossing another plasma which is going in the opposite direction of the copper oxide. Cha-ching, Earth, Sun. Gravitational magnet of the Earth, gravitational magnet of the Sun. And then you've got dynamism. Do you want me to spoon feed you? So all of you should have a torch tonight. And the CNN will not report it because it comes from Keshe Foundation. So you've been looking to find, now I took you to the lab, I showed you what to do. And if you ask my knowledge seekers, I can ask them, they can go in my lab. Can you go to my lab and bring me 2 fish pumps on the table? One is in the pack, has not opened up, and one is on the other table. So I know what I have to teach, but it's when they don't understand it, why should I teach it? I asked my wife to go and buy 2 fish pumps. And now I ask Marco to come and I'll show it to you. You want to understand how you do it? Now, tonight, all of you can open. If you understand what you're doing, if the energy delivered from the GANs to your pump does not block your pump through high voltage current AC/DC, now you have your system. You had a fish tank, you want a fish pump, fill it up with the gas and put another fish pump, another one. When the gas sits in the bottom of the tube, the way you see it, has no motion. Even the plasma of the gas is in motion. Now, instead of waiting to put another electrode into it, like the nano-coated material, that you create the motion between the layers according to the gravitational magnetic field difference with the plasmas, you collect peanuts. In each one of those tubes, there is enough plasmatic material, if you know what to do with it, to light up New York for 200 years, maybe more. The energy of the plasma never finishes. It's you who have to make that dynamic condition. You don't need no motors, you don't need no generators, you don't need to burn nothing. But, as I said, I teach you as much as you can understand. When all of you, there's hundreds, thousands of scientists around the world watch this, government approaches, they watch this. They cannot see, it's right in front of you. I put the screen on, if the screen comes on, you see, can you connect the camera please to the screen? There it is, Marco comes in. Marco, you tell them what you got in your hand.
Rick, do you want to just stop the screen share so we can see the camera? Thank you.
We have to bring that right here. Connect this camera. Yeah, because our line was disconnected, we go on another computer, so we have to change it. So, in fact, there is no shortage in the knowledge. It's just that you don't know how to use it. This is a very small fish tank. You go to any shop, go to a fish farm, what do you call it? Where they say aquariums, fish aquariums, and you buy fishes. If you can find the right material, the right thing, then you're done. It's here, it's already loaded, John. Can you be yours, and this is the same. Yeah, you don't need to separate it. So now you get yourself a 6mm tube, nano-coated. Put the 6mm tube in another tube of 2 centimeter, or what do you call it, 20 millimeter diameter. You create a current flow between the two, and you decide if you can get it right. Now you have yourself a light. You don't blame the teacher just because you were playing in the classroom when the teacher was teaching. It is very simple.
Yes, Mr. Keshe, a little observation. I'm not saying
I show you this.
The teacher. I'm just saying that I'm saying that we did achieve the knowledge. We understood that the GANS is a dynamic plasma. We did understand that it's, how to say, dismantling the Coulomb barrier. We evolved, but still we don't have the, how to say, the perspective that you have.
Yes, I have no problem, but I have to teach at the level that you understand. I can share knowledge, yeah. As I said to Marco yesterday, because I tease him a lot with this, because he knows everything, but he can't put in place. I said, there's a very beautiful woman walking by the lake in the Sensano, and you're here 1 kilometer away, more or less. It doesn't mean that she doesn't exist. It's just because you don't see it. Everything is there for you to see. Everything is there. This is there. It is. Oh, you disconnect the camera again. Yeah. This is the pump. If I can show it, that's a pump, vacuum pump. I have even made it ready for them to show them, but they have to develop the knowledge that I can share the knowledge. This is a small fish tank. Find yourself non-magnetic pumps. Then you can do it much more efficient. Increase the speed, reduce the pipe flow that you injected in, and then you create friction. Tonight you'll have a light bulb. This was the surprise for the knowledge seekers for this week. Now you got it. That's simple. In the universal condition, in the reactors of Arman, we will see when the plasmas interact. We will see the light. I have a lot of hopes for other things go wrong with the Arman's reactor. We achieve both whatever we're looking from the emotional, what do you call it, part, not from the energy part. But if you're looking for the light, you put, what do you call it, you put two floating, high floating, close. If you mix them, you will not get it because it will be very difficult because one will absorb what the other one releases. You have to keep the wall of separation in the nano layer. If you can achieve it, tonight you will be on CNN. And the energy produced in is gigawatts. And you only use a fish tank pump. So you achieve that, what do you call it, over unity by a million times. Because the plasma energy of the gases is in millions of them. It's not one of them. And then I was teaching the knowledge seekers this week about reflectors of the universe. You only need to create one atom to release its energy, and then you can use other plasmas to reflect it. Because I left a lamp in the garden in front of the lab. It's been there from the first day they came here, but none of them have seen it. And I kept on asking my wife, is this lamp? She said, I said, they haven't seen it yet. She says, no. The lamp has very few LED lights. If you light it, you don't see anything in the garden. But on top of it, there is a conical reflector, which reflects the light out. It covers meters. In plasma technology, you can do the same. Don't use all your plasmas, use some of the gases in the right way as a reflector. Then one electron will be 1 million electron light. So I hope they change their mind and they give us a Nobel Prize today for physics instead of giving to the guys for LED. The 3 Japanese won the Nobel Prize for producing LED light 20 years ago, 17 years ago. Now we're giving a free light. They're going to give you a Nobel Prize today, Marco. This is how easy it is. Always look in the teaching, in your understanding. If I have a motor, have you seen a motor in the universe? No. Then try to analyze why and how does the universe does it. Then you find your answer. It took me over 30 years to understand the behavior of gravitational magnetic field. And as I said to knowledge seekers, how you haven't understood the creation of motion is not a problem because man, millions of man and scientists for past thousands of years have understood it. And now in one go, in 10 minutes, you all understand how the motion is done. The knowledge is free, but it's got to be at the level that you understand. Then I can disperse with it. And you, Luciana, usually come up with a point to push that point. And I appreciate it. When I joke with you about it, I appreciate your input. Because you are the only group, I know how you're working. We're monitoring your work very closely. You are the only ones who sit trying to do it scientifically. But then you run into, again, in the schizophrenic between matter and plasma. Try to put the matters away. You should be able to make by now, if you understood the way you're measuring the voltage and current, you cannot measure voltage or current with the voltmeters. You should have had a meter measurement by now. I explained to the knowledge seekers this week how to do it, if they understood. So, find yourself a high pressure pump and make yourself enough gas that you can put in 5 centimeter interface between two different gases. The friction between one gas of the higher order with the lower order gas should create enough friction to release enough energy to light up the whole of New York or Beijing. You don't need huge size, because once you touch the atomic structure in the gas state, you see the light according to your vision, not in physicality, in what you want to see. This is what I explained to the knowledge seekers. If you understand this position, in the future you don't need to carry the light, because you can create that gravitational magnetic field in the gas of your brain and the liquid in your brain that creates light in the direction you want to look in the dark. It's like carrying a torch in front of you. Man in the past had this knowledge, and somehow we have lost it. So we are gaining back the knowledge which was there. If you know how to change the environment, as Yvonne did, Dr. Yvonne Michel did, you could press the layers of nano layers in copper oxide wire, and you get higher voltage or whatever. Try to do that with your emotions. Try to do that with your fields in your thoughts. Then, as I said to Marco this week, is put your two hands together, facing each other, create a core, and look into it. You will see light. You will create light. Because your hand releases gravitational plasmatic fields. It becomes, hold your hands together and you see heat. You feel the heat. And that heat needs slight indication, a slight increase to become light. And you have it.
Mr. Keshe, Brett had a question that's somewhat related to that regarding the chakras of the body and the aura and so on. Maybe it would be appropriate for him to ask his question. I brought the image up there that Brett has sent me. Maybe we could just briefly get into that. We're at 2 hours and 47 minutes now into it, so we'll probably have to end the broadcast pretty soon here. I'm sure you're getting tired, but perhaps Brett could be addressed. Is that possible?
Oh, we are here because John still has to do his teaching.
Okay.
No, okay, no problem.
All right, no problem.
Carry on. Come on, Brett.
Yeah, I wanted to know the different colors of the aura. We know how the colors are produced in the field strengths, but what does the colors have a relationship to the emotional mind state of being? And if you see the picture, I don't know if you could use that as an example to explain.
Explain yourself.
When the people have different colors of auras, their emotional mind puts out fields and changes the colors. And I wanted to know what the different colors, how they relate to different emotional states, and how it affects your energy system.
This I explained in brief, I think, last time, or in one of the talks. 80% of the information transfer in body is not done through the neural system. It's done through the what they call the gravitational magnetic field of the body. And that is how, when you feel and how you feel affects. The colors are irrelevant because one shows one color one place and it shows different colors somewhere else. We've done this with these aura detectors working next to each other. One you see a slightly blue and the other one see a slightly greenish blue. So that's irrelevant. It depends what each brain knows what color or what kind of field that part of its body receives because it's got a different composition. So colors are meaningless to me. That doesn't make any sense what color does to what. Maybe pink is happiness to you and pink to somebody because they have a different combination of blood setting, it will be blue. You are
Okay.
near enough to everybody, but not necessarily the same. I've seen a lot of these aura games. To me, it's totally, what do you call it? It's good for some things, but not necessarily for what you're trying to do. We spent nearly 4 or 5 months in Belgium running a program like this in the aura systems and the ones which you think and you change, done by the Russians with the help of the Germans. They've done it in the Russian Space Agency. And I came to one conclusion: it all depends on the state of mind and what is within the body. There's a, we have God knows how much data on it. Every single, apparently to this system, you could see the behavior of every single cell in the body of the man. This is a Russian system. There's a guy in Kortreg, I don't know.
Is that Dr. Karatkov?
I can't. Don't never ask. I don't even know my name. I never remember names. But I spent nearly 4 or 5 months, and we took a lady a lot of people know. She was our guinea pig because she was working with a company which were selling this system. And I made especially to see if our psychological cups affect the position. And every time, every day we did a test, I wrote only what was the setting, emotionally or physically, or which part of the body, and then we sealed it. I kept the envelope, they kept the envelope, and the girl kept the envelope. She knows who she is. I think she listens to this program. And after 4 or 5 months, when we finished the trial, I think it took us 4 months or something, and we opened the envelopes to see if the reading of the system and the aura was according to what the cup was set for. And strange enough, I deliberately put a lot of empty cups in. So there was nothing input emotionally what was supposed to be there. But because she wanted to achieve certain thing, the aura and the system was according to her, because she wrote what she wished or whatever she feeling. And so these things is totally irrelevant the way it's set up. Because you see the matter plasma, you don't see the magrav plasma. When you can make an aura system which is a magrav, then you are closer, then we can discuss. We've done a lot of research backgrounds.
I just wanted to share something also about the magnetic field measurements. Maybe it could help some people. Since the GANS is magnetic, you can clear the GANS liquid easily by putting magnets underneath the containers. It'll clear a lot faster. But you can take a pressure plate with a magnet underneath it and put the GANS on top and have the pressure from the GANS push down onto the pressure plate, and you can create a reference point for the GANS and then go from there for the other ones.
Yeah, he's using magnetical or gravitational. So you have to use specifically one side. If you turn it on the North Pole, as we say, then you see the magnetical. If you do it on the South Pole, according to it, but the problem is with the GANs is dynamic north and south.
So right, but you can solidify it, and it won't do that. It'll.
Something we'll test. We'll try.
Me and Vince played around.
We've done some tests with Brett, yeah, and I actually had some static discharge. I don't know if it was static, but it dried CO2 GANs.
It is good if you are doing such a thing. Keep the data, because then that's how the technology finds its backbone. It's a beautiful thing you're doing, but keep the data.
So I was able to manipulate the GANs with a piece of balsa wood.
Maybe yes, but don't forget you only affect on the GANs according to the matter which that magnet is made of. So if you use a different magnet with the same GANs, you find a different measurement most probably. So
well, it wasn't really measurement; it was the the action in which the GANs was producing compared to the magnet. So I tried with a magnetically charged screwdriver tip, which was different than a neo-magnet, which was different than a piece of balsa wood.
And then you used the
discharge?
tip. Vince used the tip of his finger as well, right, Vince? And that
Was
also
I
got
used
a
my finger as
response.
well.
It got
Was it
as much
the
of a
same
response
discharge?
as the magnet.
Was exactly the same measurement.
That's exactly what I get. My assistant and I, she touched this reactor and she felt the tingling, and so she was playing with it. And I came over and put 2 points of interaction on it, and then she was literally chasing these GANs bubbles through this material. We were getting incredible reactions, like
Yes, but
instantaneous reactions.
yes, we know we get the reactions, but what I'm asking is the reaction with different magnets and the fingerprint is the same.
No
the same
magnets.
discharge.
No magnets.
Not on
No,
yours,
no, I
Dan,
mean, I'm
but on
talking
mine
with
it was. On mine, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it is different, then we can, okay, standard. If this is a magnet you use, if you get this energy, then this is the GANs of this material. If you use the other one, I think it'll be best to try maybe 2 different GAN solids on the either side of the plate, because I've done this. When we produce the gases, and then you measure it, then you start standardizing. This is something that we
That's
need
what I
the
was
knowledge.
doing.
So we dried 3 GANs.
Yeah.
With the individual pieces on the plastic lid that I was using. With the different magnets, it was reacting differently to each GAN. Some of them wouldn't react at all. CO2 was the most reactive to any magnetic field, as well as the balsa wood, as well as my finger.
And then you were getting charged.
Well, I wasn't measuring any voltage. I was just trying to experiment with a dried or a semi-dry state of GANs.
Yeah, but what did you measure? What did you observe exactly?
The amount of GANs that were being moved due to the fields, not through the actual magnet or balsa itself. The distance that it moved, the location that it moved, the direction that it changed to.
Okay, this is fantastic. Let's go a step further. Let be in the question time. I ask and we see, we extend the knowledge, because then you learn it. Ask yourself one question. You say the distance the GANs moved. That's energy. That's plasmatic gravitational energy. How can you convert this energy, and how can you bring this energy into be a heat or a light or motion? You had the motion. Now how are you going to change it? What about if you change the magnet into a GANs? Try this GANs motion, and which I explained to you with a fish pump, and tell me if you see the light. If you have an aura material detector, like you show the human body, keep an aura detector and see what a spectrum is creating near the visible light, and what you need to change. This is what I said to the knowledge.
We should be able to detect that with our eyes, though. If we train ourselves to be able to see the auras, we should be able to see it with our eyes.
But then, no, what I'm trying to explain is then you know what speed of the push of the material you need to achieve light. Because you have to create certain friction at a certain speed to be able to create that light. So if you keep your, your camera on it, that should show you very much like the figure you have on the screen now. The white is on the top. Or do you want a red light at the bottom? So the speed of the flow and the material used, the salinity of the material of the liquid in the interaction, instead of put the 2 flows opposite to each other. And if you can nano coat it and then keep the camera on and see which light is created and which direction you are going. If you increase the speed of the flow, if you increase the salinity, we don't have these cameras. You have it tested and teach us.
There's a picture that Elia sent, actually a video that she suggested that we could have a look at to see if it's an animation that maybe it shows something that would be similar to what you're talking about, Mr. Keshe. Let me see if I can get it lined up on the screen share here. So, do you have the live screen or?
You see, yeah, we have it on the live screen. Let me, before you play this video, now Elia is on the line, and you can listen to me. Go back to what we always said. The 20% of the food you eat, the energy you take, 80% comes from the environment. Scientifically, you should take by the ratio of the volume to the surface the food you need. In the bats which they fly, we see a huge ratio, 70%. In the humans, we don't see it because we don't eat as much as we, what do you call it, as the energy and the height and the weight we have, the mass ratio. Go into the scientific literature, you find what I'm talking about, because I can go and find it and show it to you. Then the scientific world is asking themselves why the mass or the volume to the surface ratio as the animal becomes bigger reduces. Because a bat of 16 grams, for example, eats 9 grams of flies at night to keep its heat and its body going. And if you go by the same ratio, if you're 100 kilo weight, you should eat about, I don't know, 70 kilo every night to every 24 hours to do. But we only are happy with the sandwich or a small amount of food. And the scientific world, doctors don't understand why is this ratio. Because the doctors haven't understood that the body is a plasmatic, magnetic, gravitational. You absorb it from the environment. The auras which you show us, is it the field coming into the body or the fields going out of the body? The body has an exhaust system exactly like bladder and what do you call it, and big intestine that filters a specific length gravitational magnetic field. If you can, what you said that the system you can measure it to, then we can measure exactly how we see the flow fields, which part of the body is rejecting, which part of the body accepting, and when they do. In the commercial we put up for the kit, our system is totally different than the tree. We are forever absorbing CO2 and we never give anything out, we give a very little out. So it's for you lot to add to our knowledge, but do it the correct way. Is there in the market that it can measure the aura which is going out and the aura which is coming in? We have silence.
Are they usually infrared cameras? I'm not sure of which spectrum
no
that
clue.
the Aura cameras usually do.
I have no clue about these cameras. I've seen a lot of them. I've been shown a lot of them. But I have no idea.
Kirlian photography, I think it's called. Sometimes they charge the body before taking the picture, and sometimes it's the camera itself has got certain sensitivity to it.
Vincent, you should win I should see you on CNN tonight, if you can use the fish pump. He's not there?
He's already making.
He's already making.
He's there, he's in the background.
He's got a very good
You already
team.
got something for us, Lucian?
Pardon?
I was asking if he already has something for us.
No, you was supposing to measure the things.
I'll
That's
get it
it.
done.
Can I ask any of you, do you sleep, you lot?
Sleep? Sorry, I don't know what that is.
What it is.
I'm not using.
I've
Depends.
got in front of me. I've got in front of me two pumps exactly like you just described, teeny tiny fish pumps.
Well,
And,
from what I've
how
seen
did
from your lab, you have everything. You should be the first one to enlighten us.
Yeah. So
I-
what are you using them for, Dan?
Well, no. Because of the example from the doctor, I just was scurrying around and pulled some parts out of inventory.
These guys are
I just have two of those fish pumps like was describing right here, and I was wondering, I wonder which liquids I'm going to use. I already have the gel barrier.
Yeah, Dan, I think you have a organic GANS. Personally, I think your GANS is very dynamic and very complex in terms of its mass or its magrav.
Well, you guys have only seen just the tip of the iceberg. I'm just trying to. But
are you sure? Are you sure you did the test on your own?
I'm producing 27 different liquids here. I'm in full production.
And there's definitely definitely
I've never
different
used
types
the
of
soap.
bacteria and so on that give off light, right? There's light emitting beings in the ocean, in salt water, and so on.
So organic GANS has a good interaction with itself because it would all be dynamic. So you'd be able to use probably any of the GANS that you have there to be able to create the friction.
I
You
think
already
one
can
of
see
the
the friction
ways.
layer on the one.
Absolutely. I have a choice. I have a plethora of a choice.
Can I give you a suggestion? It'll be very good for those who worked a lot of hard work. Arman has a very miniature motor. So we've been looking for it yesterday. If you stick a piece of nano-coated copper oxide or copper coated in the CO2 GaNs material, I think that should give you a lot of light. Hint, hint.
I have a teeny tiny motor also right in front of me. It's for that particular reason. I can show you my camera. It's sitting right here.
You gotta be careful what you wish for in this workshop because you might get it immediately.
I've already gotten it a number of other ways. I've reproduced a the phosphorescence in the algae, only mine's orange. Like orange, lime, green.
I'm wondering how you're still alive at this moment. You're like mine. They haven't got you yet.
I sleep. I have a 36-hour schedule. I sleep 6 hours, 2 hours, sometimes by two, and sometimes 6 hours. I don't know. I attribute
it depends what you wish, huh? It depends what you wish to have.
Regenerate all of my
check if the
nitrogen
paper has
every
been
night.
loaded, the motion paper or anything on the
As
website?
well as the dynamic fields that you're around there, Dan. I'm sure that they are also
and all of my reactor series are in harmony. Absolutely producing all of them. I don't use any electricity here in any of my laboratories here. I produce electricity inside of all of it and recycle the plasma. I use the chemical reactions just for conditioning purposes and
No, on the shop or the new papers. Yeah, go to the shop or the new papers. You see,
and I only pay $10 for the service because that's the minimum thing in order to hold the contract with the electric company.
You know, there is a scientist in Belgium who didn't even pay that €10 because he said he can't come and take the meter away.
Yeah, but I want the connection because I surf on top of the superhighway peer to peer.
In the new papers?
I want that third commonality of connection. That's why I have it. Plus, I can sell them back energy if I wanted to.
Can we see this video from earlier? Yes. Okay, the kit unit now is being put up for sale on the website of the foundation. So anybody who wants to purchase it, the kit or the unit, the kit will be different than what you see, but it'll do the same work even better. So that has been, what happened? Oh, we are there. So it's been released. Now the kit is ready. You can order. The people who paid €10 for the kit, you're going to get a refund back because you went in while we were loading and the price is not €10, is €25 in Euro plus delivery. And then there will be additional for the plate only. And can you go to the papers, latest papers, please? See if the paper has been downloaded there. And if you go to the latest paper, we'll see if the motion and thing has been loaded yet by the webmaster. No, it's not loaded yet. So the paper for the motion will be loaded today. So from now, the CO2 kit is for sale. You got to allow up to 30 days for delivery. What are we looking at?
This is the video that you were saying that you wanted to look at, Mr. Keshe?
Yes, what is it? Can somebody explain to me?
This is somebody's representation of the field strength inside of a reactor.
This must have come from China. Is an inside, he can be right. There is nobody's wrong. We lost it. Yeah? Is it
No,
there?
we're good.
No, we don't see the video. It's like the first reactor they built as animation was rotating with the things around it. How the helium was coming in was done by the Chinese a couple of years ago.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, see it there. Yeah, we see it. Yeah, it's quite possible. Depends what you put in there. You see the beauty of this system, the way you have developed it with space reactors, is that by pinning the center, the nanomaterial, you have a very, very stable reactor. Very stable, extremely stable. The beauty with matter reactors is sometimes you can use their property in a very nice way. So this is quite be possible because we don't see the fields inside the reactor. So it could be as good as 100% right and as good as 100% wrong. But from our reactors, we know that the fields in different sides of the reactor are slightly different. We did a measurement a few months ago. We put the reactors on, as we said, we had a, what do you call it, fashion show for the reactors, and we measured the field strength on actually 6 positions, up 4 sides, top and bottom. And we saw changes for each one different for each reactor. So in the ideal place, it must be correct. I see James there. Hi, James. No, he's online somewhere.
We still need to need to move into John's presentation soon too.
Yeah, so I hand
suggesting.
over the headphone to John. Is there any other questions, or we say goodbye from here, from my part? No more questions? But Vince, try, what do you call it? Not Vince. Lucian. Try the dynamic flow of the gases and don't get disappointed. Change the density and the speed of the flow. And if you can nano-coat your material, you don't necessarily need transparent. You can use a nano-coat as a separating pipe. If you use a micro pipe, your light, if it's inwardly, don't forget what I explained to you, that the light is towards you, is the gravitational magnetic field gradient is in your direction. If the
Mr. Keshe,
magnetic field, yes.
just a very punctual question. I have some plastic tubes that are used, for the people who have respiratory issues. They give them oxygen. They are very thin, like maybe 0.5 millimeters the inner diameter and transparent. So what do you mean by coating that plastic? Because it's a
There is a way,
polyethylene.
if you, the CH bond is much weaker than using caustic. So you have to find a way to make your plastic, but strong enough to separate the hydrogen. Actually, it's mainly your carbon, which becomes your nanocoating tube. And if you don't see light, change the direction of the flow or the guns. Okay,
Rick,
you,
Rick, could you mute your mic, please?
I got the hint, Rick. I got the hint. I'll give the headphone to John. Hold on.
Okay, hello.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure everybody understood.
Yeah, there was another question on live stream here.
Vince,
That's all. And I
understood
think
that there's
we have
forms.
to stop taking questions and continue on with John's presentation. So we're up to 3 hours and 15
Yes, we
minutes.
have 40
here
minutes
now.
left.
Right.
Okay, hello to everyone. I had the intent to go to basic stuff. So after what has been said today, I might not be at the height of what is expected from everyone. But I'll try to do my best in the way that, in fact, I wanted to show with go to the atoms, and because we have different atoms, each atom has a different magnetic and gravitational field, and those magnetic and gravitational field depend on the number of the proton, neutron, and electrons in it, and I wanted to share, because that was a question that arose to me about the atoms, and because we are talking about the different different atoms, and because we are sharing that, I had some kind of ask some questions that were asked by people about those elements. So I would like to go first to the sharing. So if you look at the presentation, yeah, I took the Mendeleev table, and you see that in fact those elements have been shared, and in a way that you have all those elements that are classified in the weight, in the size of what is in the matter state, but which is for each of them also a plasmatic and gravitational aspect, and each of them can be in the matter state or in the GAN state. But what I wanted to show is, in fact, to go to the atomic structure to see that, in fact, we are in the same condition. I hope you all see the sharing of our screen. We are in the same condition than what is, in fact, a galaxy or a solar system. We have a principal matter which is in fact the core of each atom, and we have the turning around that core. We have the well, could be the Earth, the Mars, or Venus, or whatever planetary that comes around. So we have really a good parallel between what is in fact what's happening at a low level with the atoms and at a high level. So if I take this picture, for example, we have the hydrogen. Hydrogen is in fact one proton and one electron, but in fact we have a whole sphere, which is in fact the magnetosphere of all those elements. And in fact, they should be a bit bigger than what we see here in this picture. I cannot have a circle, but I should make a circle around these. So in fact, we always have the influence of each atom that has a certain distance. And the bigger the kernel is, the bigger the atom. But when we add more in the kernel, in the core of the atom, we have more electrons also. So if we have more protons and more neutrons, neutrons is what is in fact allowing stabilization of the core of the atom, and the proton has and is set in its position by the position of the electron that goes around. So you have some magnetic and gravitational aspects that are occurring, and in fact the electrons are in fact pushing on the protons and on the core to keep it also together. So each time that we have some electrons around core, that's to keep the integrity of what is inside at the same time. So yeah, I had the hydrogen, that's helium, and then the lithium, neon, they're shown here. That's in fact, we can go on with all the elements in the table of Mendeleev. If I go to this picture here, we can see that in fact we have here the carbon with 6 electrons and the same of protons, and you can have different quantities of neutrons. Usually the main carbon is the same quantity of neutron. But anyway, in the core of all the of all the atoms, we have the same with the neutron, which are in fact stabilizing the core. If we have not the correct ratio of proton and neutron, then we go to atoms that are not stable, because the equilibrium of the magnetic and gravitational field that are in the core induce a certain stability, and if the friction of the elements is not done correctly, well, it's not, there is some release, there is some friction, so the stability can disappear. Then we have a rearrangement in the core in those elements. I wanted to show also this picture. I find it very nice because it's a galaxy, two galaxies, and it reminds me exactly the hydrogen with the proton in the center and the electron on the side, and we have that variation, those rotation fields. So all that is in fact what I wanted to show for those atoms. Now, if we go further, I wanted to show the interaction of those fields and show that in fact the Coulomb barrier is in fact what decides of the size of a molecule. And if we have a molecule which is in fact, well, I wanted to show also the okay, these pictures all are, I'll stop sharing screen, and I wanted, what's that? He's putting that.
You want me to show something in particular, John?
I wanted to go with the camera eventually.
Okay. Then I'll have to stop the screen sharing, I think.
Yeah, just stop sharing screen, please. Thank you. Perfect.
Okay. This is an arrangement I made with a central magnet, and I have 6 magnets all around. And I wanted to show that in fact, if I take a small magnet like the one I have here in my between my fingers, I can have this magnet which is repelled. It's repelled by the center magnet, but if I go close enough, then I'm attracted by the small magnet which is there. This could be seen as a molecule of water, for example, where I have 2 hydrogen and a big oxygen in the center. This is the shape that could be seen as what represents water. But because we have magnetic and gravitational field, this molecule can also link to other molecules that would be around. So just put on the next one of the next picture, which could be the picture 6.
No, you got to share the screen.
No, yes, so sorry.
No, we got
okay.
it. So, Rick.
Okay. No. So eventually, let me continue with this, and I'll go back to the picture later.
Okay.
So this is in fact what could be seen as a water molecule, which is 2 hydrogen and 1 oxygen. But let's also see that this system can show us what could be the Coulomb barrier of a molecule in respect to another molecule. So I keep here under my finger one of the magnets, the small magnets, and you see I'm attracted. But when I go away, you see the distance is in fact a distance where we are kept. You see that distance which is kept between the two entities is what could be seen as the limit of attraction and repulsion. And that is more or less the Coulomb barrier. I cannot go further than the touching, but when I try to go away, I'm linked to this magnet. And this is, in fact, what happens everywhere in any molecules, in any chemical links. But it's also what happens when we have a different plasma, we have interaction. And that interaction, well, then it becomes an interaction like has been shown earlier. Just by turning and rotating a magnet, you can see that, in fact, we have a big interaction between each. So this was an aspect that I wanted to show and to share with each of you. And so I hope this will help also everyone in this kind of understanding, because, well, it's a schizophrenic aspect, because I'm not yet completely in the plasma, but in fact, it's linked to that condition. And when we are with plasma, those interactions are much more higher. Sorry. So let me maybe share this the screen from my side, or so I wanted to go back to the water, and you see that in this aspect, which is representing a crystal of ice, the links between the atoms and the molecules are in fact making and building a structure which is in fact, yeah, a hexagonal shape. And we have, at one moment, we cannot see what's the difference from one molecule to another molecule of water. They are all linked, and they happen to be in a hexagonal shape. So you see, this is one aspect which is interesting. We have some fields, and those fields have a directional aspect. And that's what we, when we have a space formation, we have some directional, and there's that directional side of what is created will be induced. We'll mostly have something which is spherical, but with some part that can be directional. And the directionality is in fact induced by increasing the fields in one reactor or in another reactor. And all those differences will allow, in fact, to move in a direction or in another direction, because then we have those fields interacting with the environment, the whole environment. And what has been showed also is, in fact, when we have a big environment, strong environment like Earth or like the Sun, interaction with the reactors will happen, and mainly the reaction is stronger with the entity near which you are. But anyway, what was said, if you want to leave Earth and to go to the moon, we have to be aware that the sun is there, and we have to control the direction of the fields, taking into account the presence of a strong field, which is the sun. So, well, this is a short aspect of things I wanted to show and to share was those fields and the fact that the matter, the atom, well, all is linked to the same, which are those plasma fields and the understanding of the stronger you have is in fact the most of the matter of the most of the entity, the biggest of the entity you have. So if you are in the with hydrogen, you have one proton, one electron. If you go to uranium, well, you have so many more proton and neutron. But what has to be seen is the size of the core in respect to the size of the atom itself is a huge difference. There's a huge distance between the core and the electron, and in between we have the vacuum, a full vacuum. And it's the same if you go into a core of a bigger atom, you have protons and neutrons in the core, but in between them there is a vacuum, and the links are the fields, the magnetic and gravitational fields that holds all those elements together. And well, that's what I wanted to go into, and hope you could enjoy at this level. Wanted to go at, into some other aspects, but I don't think it would be the good place now for doing it. Okay, does anyone have any question?
If my mic would unmute, I think I do. In what we have there is, you said the structure of a ice molecule, but would that not be the structure of the molecule itself, just in a different dimension, as in the water molecule would spread due to the the increased Coulomb barrier? Is that what you were?
This could very
saying?
well be the structure that we of the water we have in the body, because that structure of the water is in fact just about the structure of one molecule, one huge molecule, which is in fact what happens with the linking which is made, and that's what I said. We don't see exactly what could be one molecule or another. It would only be a slight difference in the distances between one oxygen and one hydrogen, but the link is there and completely.
Right. Okay. So, in terms of ice, right? We know that ice is, isn't it the only molecule that will expand when the heat energy is taken out of it, so it gets colder? So why ice? Can you explain that?
Well, that's when we go to a solid state, the links, the distances of each atom and molecules, because we are taking out some heat, those distances are in fact more or less, well, they are. I have a small explanation there to say that, in fact, when we go from liquid to ice, the volume the specific volume of the water increases slightly. That's because the way the behavior is in fact that the structure allows the magnetic and gravitational field to push more, and that's why we have that ice taking more space.
Right. So the oxygen in the picture that we have on the screen with the ice, the oxygen would be
No, because I don't want
allowed
to.
to increase its fields with little less interaction with the hydrogen and the other oxygen on the other side. So it could increase its distance, where in terms of let's say iron, the iron molecule will shrink in terms of its dimensions when it gets cold, because it has the same atoms that it's dealing with, so they will contract with their fields, let's say, or put out less fields. I'm not saying contract with fields, but put out less fields due to the magrev environment of the cold condition. So with the oxygen and the hydrogen being the molecule that is the base of the proton and electron, would that give it more room to be able to expand? Is that could we also see it that way?
Well, I can see it in the fact that because of the solidification and the hydrogen that is linked to one oxygen will just go a bit further of its own oxygen and become closer to the oxygen of a neighboring water molecule. So we could have those links to change from a certain position when it's liquid to a position which is between the two atoms of oxygen for one hydrogen, and the positioning of the hydrogen is in fact attraction by two neighbor oxygen. It will. So we have like in the when I showed the magnets, the two oxygen cannot come closer because they are repelling, and the hydrogen just stays at a stable position in between the two.
Would it not be allowed to increase its field strength because of the less fields that the oxygen has? So does it have to make up the difference? So increasing the distance between the oxygen?
Well, that's I cannot
for a later time, I guess. Okay, I think we're getting pretty close here, Rick. Is there any other questions for John before we call it a night?
Yeah.
Is there any other?
Can I just say something, if it's possible, before we finish? Please wait till later on that the 18-minute video is loaded as well, and then please post it up on every CO2 organization you know, global warming system you know, because this is the first chance we have, we can go global. Any organization you know which is fighting for global warming or anything in the United Nations, this is a practical unit. And I would like to ask if people who want to make these units in your country, contact the foundation that we give you a very, very simple system which is designed by the Italians to copy, and you can market it very rapidly. And at the same time, this would allow us as the foundation to be able to push forward with spreading the knowledge across, because many people don't know about the foundation, but they are very active in whatever global warming and the CO2 absorption. This allows to help the humanity as a whole in Mongo. There is one thing which I have to tell you, and I think it comes very interesting to understand. A lot of you have dried, a lot of you have powdered. Has anybody frozen the GANs? Has anybody put the GANs in a deep freezer?
We'll find out this winter when it freezes in my garage. Yes.
If you have a deep freezer, place it in the deep freezer or try to freeze it. It will freeze partially, may not do, but you will see very interesting result. And if you can picture it or you can photograph the aura of it, the people who have the machine will let us know. So I think we call it a day. We've been here long enough today. Thanks very much for everybody's help. Tomorrow we'll be back at 2 o'clock with Dr. Elia Kowalski, and she'll be most likely after 2 weeks a permanent resident in the Foundation Center. And on Saturday at 7 o'clock Central European Time, we'll have the children's program, and we'll see where we can go. And then after next week, still Saturday, and then the following week will be Wednesday. I think Rick will post it up. Is there any other question, or shall we call it a day?
I think we should call it a day. And thank you for all that information. It was very fantastic, and I'm sure that we can all add to the knowledge from what we learned here. We should all be able to bring our own experiences on the next workshop to be able to add our knowledge to the totality.
I hope so, because now, in a way, if you can produce light, and now we've seen we produce the CO2, a fraction of CO2, today is a very, very important day for the Foundation, extremely important. Maybe by next week we explain to you exactly how and why. The whole structure is moving mainly because of the sessions like this, that the world leaders and politicians understood there is no need for patents, and knowledge can be shared so easily and so in a common language that everybody can understand and work with it. And I should thank all the people around the Foundation who have made this so, what do you call it, possible to be done. And each one of us carries one corner of a very big carpet, and all together we can lift it, but one of us is too heavy. I carried that heavy for long enough, and a few other people. Now there are millions of people who are doing it. I welcome the Nigerian Keshe Foundation into the family of the foundations, the same as the New Zealand's and the others. So we hopefully next week, if we are correct, we'll see the light. And if you are very correct, we'll give you a very good news in respect to the international acceptance of the technology internationally and its applications. Thank you very much for being here.
And I'd like to remind people that they can help lift the carpet by making donations to the Keshe Foundation to make sure that all this wonderful things that are trying to be done continue to be done. Thank you, everybody. That's
Thank you very much, Rick.
Workshop.
Thanks. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
And so ends, as I often say, so ends the 31st Keshe Knowledge Seekers Workshop. Okay, stop the live stream in just a couple of seconds.